we'll start with our first federal level, and Congressman Paul Gosar is running again for office. Here, why don't you take the one? Now, this obviously is not Paul Gosar. This is Penny, and we've seen her a lot taking care of some of the casework around her, but we'll let you go ahead and have the floor now and speak on behalf of Paul.
Okay, I appreciate that. The congressman, of course, was elected, and he's in Washington, D.C. He's probably getting on a plane right now because things got a little bit crazy in D.C. right now, and they shut down the session. So happy to be here on his behalf. I've been working with him since he was elected in 2010 and started his tenure in 2011. Love Quartzsite, come here as often as I can. And yes, we welcome Republicans and Democrats, the congressman, when we do casework. We don't really care what party you're from. We just want to get to the federal issue that you have and solve it. That's the bottom line. Red tape sucks, and we like to kill it. So, and thanks to Philip, some of you may not know, the congressman, in order to go to a military academy, a student must go through a congressional nomination. And we have a board of 3 very qualified. Philip leads our board. We have one from here, from Kingman, and from the West Valley. Our district goes from Yuma up to the Hoover Dam, all the river cities, including Kingman, that's not really a river city, but close enough, and Wickenburg, Buckeye, and north of the Grand Canyon up in the Arizona Strip. So it's huge. Spent a lot of time, windshield time, but it's worth every minute to see Arizona. I'm a 5th generation Arizonan, so I come with a lot of, used to be small town Gilbert, and love being able to go out and see the growth and the people that come to share it with us. Congressman's on, I'll give you a few just committees. He's the chairman of the Oversight and Investigation, Energy and Mineral Resources, Healthcare and Financial Services, and National Security and Border and Foreign Affairs. So spends a lot of time in committee hearings. This is our 250th, as we all know, it's not been a secret. He has the dean of the delegation. He put together a letter, and we got 250 copper pennies, which is one of our Arizona 5Cs, as you know. And we put it in a time capsule. So in 250 years, when they open that up, first off, it's not going to be recognizable because no one will know what a penny is. They won't even know what a Bitcoin is then. So, I mean, it's going to be pretty crazy by then. But we did that, and it's pretty fun to be able to be from a state that copper was the past and it's also the future. Technology requires it, and we got to keep it going. We do lots of veteran issues, supporting our veteran treatment courts. How many of you are familiar with those? If you're not, you should be. These are veterans that maybe fall off and get in a bad way, do something that causes them some law issues. They get on a program, fight those demons, get back together without going to prison. And we support Yuma, Bullhead City, Kingman, Lake Havasu, and Glendale has a big court. We're working on getting Parker. Parker needs their court back, and we hope that whoever the judge is that wins this next election will work with us and help us and help. I know there's 2 of you running. I can't say anything, but I just hope someone wants to do it because we want to support you in that. Water. We have to keep fighting for water, and not just the old water and who gets what. We have to find new water. We have to find desalinization, cut some of the red tape that makes 10, 15 years. That doesn't help Arizona at all. We need to get through that and get through the NEPA process. I'm not going to keep you long. Congressman Gosar loves what he's doing. He's going to keep doing as long as you'll have him and keep him busy. If you have any questions afterwards, come over to see me over here. I have cards and would love to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, before you go, is there any questions from the audience?
Oh boy.
We have one right here.
Hi, my name is Dana Tagg, and I'm 77 years old, and I'm a veteran. And I went to Vietnam. I have Agent Orange, and I am 80% disabled. And My question is, and I have a hard time understanding why it is that us guys, we didn't have a choice when we went in.
Correct.
We were drafted. And 50,000 men and women did not come back home. And I would like for you to give a message to Mr. Quartzsite, and the message is this. We would like to be able to at least fish in the country that we fought for. I would like to camp in the country that I fought for. And I think that's an entitlement. When people say to me, thank you for your service, I remember what I really got thanked when I came back from Vietnam. That to me is the way they showed the stuff that we did. And so I would appreciate if you gave that message. I would definitely like to see us having that ability to at least go fishing in our state.
I would agree with you, and I know the state has tried to do that, and we'll continue to contact your state reps. I don't think you want the federal government messing with that, because they just screw everything up. But I'll happy to work with your state people and see. I know Sonny Borelli, who used to be your state rep, a senator, tried to sponsor that. So let me see where that's going, if it's going to be added on again next session.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from the audience? Now, if you have any constituent issues, get a hold of her afterwards. Any from the press? Anybody from the press have questions?
Look at that smile. She's thinking about it.
Okay. All right. Thank you
so much.
Thank you very much, Penny, and thank you for coming out to Quartzsite. Okay. Now we'd like to get our executive branch up here. We have We have Scott Neely running for governor. Come on up. And Rodney Glassman, come on up. Is he here yet? Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and start with Go ahead and find one of these that fits you the best. Okay, go ahead and start. We'll give you 3 minutes to introduce yourself and tell us why you're running for governor.
So the first bill I'm going to lobby with the state legislature is to make fishing licenses for 65 and over Vietnam veterans at no cost. So you should be able to fish. It shouldn't cost you a dime to do so in your own country. I know the sentiment, everything costs money now. The government sells us back everything that we thought we had given to us by God. Now the government sells it, including that fishing license that you shouldn't have to pay for. So I apologize for that, sir. Thank you for your service, by the way. This is going to hit well in Quartzsite. If you're 65 plus, something I am going to lobby that the Arizona legislature puts on my desk to sign is if you're 65 and above, you don't pay property tax anymore. And here's why. You put your kids through school, your grandkids through school, me through school, my kids through school, and I'm now putting my grandkids through school, and you guys have already paid for all of it. You deserve a break for the rest of your lives. You shouldn't have to pay for that anymore. So I'm going to work on that with our legislature to get that passed and get that through. Another thing I'm going to work with our legislature on is desalinization for data centers. If a data center wants to come into the state of Arizona and use our water and electricity, then they're going to pay to desal the water for 2 different reasons. If it's a closed loop system, they have to desal it, otherwise it gets too much chemical buildup in the water that's in the radiated system, and it'll cause it to blow up and basically become a mini nuke for the neighborhood. Blow up your city. We don't want that. So you have to desal it if you're going to have a closed loop system. If you're going to have an open loop system, you have to also desal it, and the reason why is because if it's an open loop system and you pour water through it and then you recharge it into the aquifers, you're going to over time build up arsenic and other chemicals into the aquifers caused by the by the data center, because these things cause chemicals to build up. We don't want that in our water supply. We want to protect our water table. We have very limited resources of water as it is. The last thing we want to do is poison it. Personally, I'm against data centers. I'm a humanist. I would rather humans have jobs, not robots and freaking AI and whatever and all that garbage. But if they're going to do it, they're going to have to do it that way, or I won't sign legislation to allow it in this state. I'll sign executive orders against it and actually lobby the legislature, put a bill on my desk so we could sign for that. In addition to that, I'm going to lobby for micronuclear in the state of Arizona because our water and power rates are already going through the roof as it is lately. I don't know if anybody's noticed. I've noticed mine have gone up a lot. My wife's getting angry about it. The fact of the matter is our electricity has gone up 27% since they closed the Cholla coal-fired power plant, which I was part of the decommissioning on. I was a subcontractor out there. The EPA guy told me rates in Arizona will go up 27% as soon as that closed down. That's total crap. In addition to that, we're now having data centers come in that are going to suck up all of our electricity and water. I'm not cool with that unless the data centers pay for micronuclear technology, which if we use micronuclear, which is something that they use in Russia. Russia's such a bad country, supposedly, but yet they've gotten micronuclear for the last 30 years. It's a safe technology. You take the old spent rods from the bigger nuclear power plants, you chop them up into pellets, then you reuse them and you pull what's left of the radiation out of them, and now you've got micronuclear centers. These micronuclear centers can power small cities, they can power data centers, they can power big cities if you lay out enough of them across the city. And then by doing so, you're sucking all the radiation out of the old spent rods, which now turns it to dust, and now it's no longer nuclear, which means it's safe for the environment. Imagine that. I can even make Democrats happy, you know? So there's those things there. The other thing is, since I was a kid, I used to ride my motorcycle out in the Yuma Dunes or the California Sand Dunes or Glamis. There was a desalinization plant out there that I used to ride my bike by in the 90s when I was a kid, when the Army Corps of Engineers was building it. That was the test technology that eventually turned into all the technology that's out in Carlsbad, California, and San Diego, and all those things. Eventually, they used it in Saudi Arabia and all these Arab countries that we went and bombed the hell out of. And then we gave them all of our best technology and allowed them to turn a desert into a paradise, even though we've turned America into a second or third world country. This isn't a first world country anymore. I've been to other countries. They're a lot nicer than America. Even China is nicer than America. Even the Philippines is nicer than America. It's hard to believe. If you've gone to war like you have, when you were there, it was third world. Now, it's first world. We're second or third world. It's terrible. We haven't taken care of our country in my entire lifetime. I'm 45 years old. We have neglected our children for 45 years. Everybody convinced us that every kid should get an academic education and go to college. Not every kid is an academic. Not every kid should go to college. Not every kid should be saddled with college debt. You should only be saddled with college debt if you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. That's it. Outside of that, you should never go to college. Period. Now, trade schools. I want to bring back trade schools. I want to bring back wood shop and metal shop, auto mechanic shop in the high schools across this entire great state of Arizona. Up until the year 2000 and when I graduated high school, we had all that. That was about the time the shift was happening, when technology took off. I came up with technology, but I also came up with trades. I came up with both. So I can walk the line of technology and trades. Today, the kids only walk the line of technology, but we have AI taking over their white-collar jobs. So we have kids stuck in their bedroom 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on a computer or a game console with no kind of skills really to offer the world other than maybe computer skills, which are going away. So what do we need to do? We need to go back to the future. Back to the 80s and bring back trades to the future, move it back forward again. That's the only way our kids have a future. And it's actually a good thing too, because how many young men can't change a car tire on the side of the road? It happens a lot. I've seen it a lot. It's quite embarrassing when I see it on the side of the road. It's even more embarrassing when their girlfriend's changing the tire because she was raised by her father. Sad. Funny, but sad. These things all need to change. Here's the thing. We've imported millions and millions of people from other countries that actually raised real men, right? South American countries, African countries, even Russia and China have raised men. We haven't for about 30 years, at least 20. We have enough people here that aren't from here that they could literally take over our country from the inside. You seniors are tough people from your generation, but you've gotten older. And your grandkids aren't stronger. And that's an issue. So now my grandkids, we need to raise them differently than we raised my kids, our generation of kids. My particular kids, I raised them in the trades, but I'm an offshoot. I'm weird. I know. I'm actually out building the border wall. I've been out building the border wall for almost 20 years, but right now I landed a subcontract with Fisher Industries. I have a 2.5-year contract as a subcontractor out at the Arizona border wall with Mexico. We're building the Arizona border wall. It's actually being built in Arizona, Texas, California, and New Mexico. We have a 2.5-year contract. Should Trump not be reelected, the wall stops. Well, when I say Trump, I mean somebody like Trump. I mean Vance or Rubio or somebody that is pro-wall. So we have 2.5 years to get it done. It's not going to get done. It's a 5-year project. So if Democrats take over, and kind of the sentiment with Republicans, what I see on the news and in social media, is even Republicans are mad with Republicans right now. That's what I'm seeing on the internet. Your furthest right Republicans are even mad at Donald Trump, unfortunately. And I think we could lose the midterms. I think I'm going to win the primary for governor, and I think I'm going to be your next governor because I'm a different kind of guy. Regular guy like average Joe like you guys out here in the crowd. But we need to change the direction of this country or we aren't going to have a country. We're not going to have another 250 years. We're in accelerated Rome crashing as we speak. We need to turn that around and turn it around fast. We don't have a lot of time. Time is of the essence. The time is now. If you want a common man helping you to run the state and challenge the bureaucracy, which by the way is crazy. When I was a kid, we had 1 vice principal at a high school. Now there's 5. When I was a kid, we had 4 counselors at a high school. Now there's 12. They've just duplicated positions within the administrative parts of all the school systems to create higher paying jobs. So when they exit, they get better pensions. But it's pulling away teacher salaries. It's pulling their salaries down. That whole Red for Ed thing was a raise for administrators, and they gave like $200 pay raise for teachers. But what does $200 in a year do for a teacher? Not a lot. We need to fund the teachers. The money needs to go to the classroom. The money needs to go to the kids. The kids need to be able to be taught how to do math, how to read, how to write, the basics. If they're taught the basics, then I can teach them how to read a tape measure. If they're taught the basics, I can teach them how to read plans. If they're taught the basics, I can teach them how to frame, drywall, pour concrete, weld, and all the other things necessary to build back America and make it into a powerhouse again. We are way behind the 8 ball. We need to get this moving again, and I'm the candidate to make it happen. My name is Scott Neely, and I'm running for Arizona governor.
Okay, thank you, Scott. We'll start with your first question, focusing on the primary. There's our first fine right there. Because I know that's not a real baby. What makes you different than your opponents in the primary?
I've left blood and sweat on the border wall. They haven't. I've owned businesses since the age of 16. Started my first business while in high school at 16, while living in my own apartment, while taking care of myself. I moved out young. I got started young. My dad was an entrepreneur. I learned from him. I jumped the gun, jumped at it fast, ran a business for 4 years, did well. September 11, 2001 happened. My business went from booming to crashing overnight. That was my first crash. Then I moved to Arizona, worked in the car business. I worked for Brown & Brown Chevrolet for about 3 years. Worked there, built my credit, bought a house, took a loan against my house, bought a concrete pump, bought a truck, started a business in concrete pumping. Prior to concrete pumping, I was a concrete finisher when I was 16 and below and above. So, got that business going, ran it for 21 years. During that 21 years time, we had the Great Recession. We had the Bush and Obama crash, because that started under Bush and it finished under Obama. We had the Great Recession that lasted a very long time. We had something called Obamacare, where I had to pay $1,500 a year fines for me, $1,500 a year fines for my son that I had full custody of. It was just me and him. I had no health insurance. I was on a particular job site, a Verizon cell phone tower, walking through concrete. It seeped through my jeans, into my boots, and I got 3rd-degree burns. My wife almost divorced me over it because I'm too stubborn and I wouldn't go to the hospital. I refused because I said, listen, honey, we're getting ready to start a bigger business. Now we're going to start selling concrete pumps to our competitors. We're going to do a vertical monopoly. We're going to become the experts of what we already do and then sell it to all of our competitors and pull all the business in Arizona our way for what we know how to do so well. She was mad. It worked out. The 3rd-degree burns healed eventually. I was in bed for a couple weeks. It was painful. We got through it. By the way, vinegar sucks Portland cement concrete out of the open pores of chemical concrete burns. It's in the book Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About by Kevin Trudeau, who did 10 years in prison under Obama because he wrote a book that saved my legs. Thanks, Obama. You put the dude in jail that saved my legs and prevented me from needing to go to a hospital. What a guy. All the while I'm paying $1,500 fines a year for me and my son. All the while John McCain goes, nope, we're not going to do repeal and replace. We're going to keep it. Who did it first, though? Who pointed the thumb down before John McCain did? Anybody have an answer to that guess? Who first pointed the thumb down about repealing and replacing Obamacare? Andy Biggs. Yeah, I laid in bed with third-degree burns. Andy, a few days before in Congress, said no. It made it through Congress. That's why we've never heard about Andy's vote on that. What stopped it was in the Senate with McCain. The reason Republicans have hated McCain so much is because he pointed down, but they both pointed down, and my legs burned. I got through it. I built a great business. Not complaining. God is great. Here I am standing before you, running for Arizona governor for my second time. My first time I ran against Carrie Lake. I debated her in a circus debate on television. All these wonderful ideas I've explained to you today, I could not explain that day because Carrie and Karen were fighting. I just recently debated Andy Biggs and David Schweikert. The best thing in the world happened. They neutered me. They turned my mic off anytime Biggs spoke. Best thing that ever happened to me. His mic was on, but whatever. He didn't attack me, so we're good. We had a very civil debate. We agreed on a lot of things, but I had a lot of great ideas. I came out of that debate smelling like a rose. It went good. I had great ideas, some of the ones I've shared here tonight.
Okay, your next question has to do, you touched on the bureaucracy that you're going to have to deal with at state level. And one of the problems we've had in the current administration was getting directors appointed, getting commissions and board members appointed. I think there's 800 commissions, probably around 2,200 people you gotta appoint. So how are you going to wrap your head around, and within that first 100 days, how are you going to get the right people in position to carry out your policies?
How many did you say?
I think there's 800 commissions.
Don't you think that's too many in the state of Arizona?
I think so.
So do I. So how I get my head around it is I cut it down to half, 400. That's just to start. We got to cut bureaucracy. The night of the debate on June 17th, myself, Andy Biggs, David Schweikert, that very night, City of Mesa saddled me with, you get this, guys, 25 code compliance violations. I don't live in an HOA. I purposely bought in a non-HOA, but I did well in the debate. Our mayor, Mark Freeman, Andy Biggs are very good friends. They both happen to be LDS. I am not. Now I'm fighting my city as a candidate for governor of 25 code compliance violations, including paint that's messed up on my eave, a couple of weeds in my front yard, parking my work truck 1 ton on my driveway. And actually the work truck 1 ton on my driveway, if I get 3 violations that actually hit me and I pay those violations after the 3rd one, they can put me in jail up to 6 months for parking a 1 ton work truck at my house. And then they can also fine me $2,500. And I'm running for governor, so what can they do to you? Think about that. We need to cut bureaucracy. I'll cut it from the top. I'm gonna take funding away from the cities because the cities are out of control. I went and talked yesterday to Mesa Code Compliance Department. I alluded to the fact that I think Mark Freeman, mayor, had something to do with it. They said, well, there'd be a note here if he did. I said, sure, no, because you have an online portal where you can be anonymous, so he could have done that, just like any citizen can. I said, the fact of the matter is, you guys are essentially using your government overreach against your citizenry. This is totally wrong. It's a power grab. And I said, and the fact is, I do believe the mayor has something to do with it. And she goes, well, here's the thing. The mayor can't do anything about what we do. We are our own separate bureaucracy. Matter of fact, the mayor can't tell us what to do. Light bulb went off in my head. Wow, not even the mayor can tell you what to do, and he's supposed to be the lead executive in the city? That's a problem. That's an out-of-control bureaucracy. That's something we need to defund. Why do we need 120 code compliance officers in the city of Mesa? Or maybe you have 3 or 4 here, who knows? But that kind of garbage needs to stop. I thought we lived in a free country. I thought this Vietnam veteran fought for my freedoms against communism, but it turns out we live in a communist, or at least at the very least, a socialist nation. And I want to put a stop to it. I want to put a stop to it from the executive office of Arizona. And as your governor, I will hold the purse of 30% of the state's budget, which kind of is a little bit dictatorial, which I don't agree with, but it is what it is. That's the law. 2/3 of the budget is within the Arizona legislature, 1/3 is from the governor's office. So I have a lot of power to hold a lot of these bureaucracies accountable and maybe defund some of them. That's what I'm going to work towards. We need to defund the bureaucracies. They're out of control. We have the most government on the planet, and we need to cut government back on the planet. We have more government than China, and we think China's communist? No, we're communist. China, sadly, is probably a freer nation than we are. Russia definitely is. And that's crazy, but it's just the facts, folks. We need to change it.
Okay, are there any questions from the audience?
Yes,
Mike.
you back there, sir.
I appreciate you ending on the local tyranny with code enforcement. Because this room is full of politicos that have neutered me in this community. They have stolen all my property. They have levied tax liens on my property. They've made it impossible. They've stole everything on my property, everything that I was working on. What can we do? What can I do as a resident of 20 years of constant tyranny, bogus arrests, multiple court appearances, more than anybody you know?
I have the record in Mesa for code compliance violations in a
So-
Mormon communist city.
Yeah, well, we have that same problem here. What can we do? What can I do? What can you do to stop this? I mean,
If we don't figure out how, if we don't figure out how to come together as Americans and politically solve this, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get dirty. It's going to get bloody. It's going to be like the Civil War era. We don't want that. I don't know if any of you guys have noticed, but people in my generation in our 40s and some in their 30s, some in their 20s, we're stepping up to the plate because we see what's on the horizon. We're fearful of what's on the horizon, and we're trying to politically put a stop to it right now. But there's something going on that most don't know about, and this is what I call it. It's called the uniparty, establishment, elite, socialist, psyop, running game on we the people in America. And what I mean by that is Democrats and Republicans work together behind the scenes against we the people for their gain and for our loss. This has been going on my whole life. I've seen it. I've seen the tyranny. I've seen the levels and the steps. I seen when I started a business at 16, living in Riverside, California, I could park a work truck in front of my house and not be harassed. In California. I thought it was communist over there. I mean, maybe it is now. But I moved to Arizona, a red state, one that I thought I had even more freedom within, only to find out all my freedoms since I got here have been removed from me. I've been neutered as a small businessman. I am tired of hearing that Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and all these really rich, Jeff Bezos and all these really rich guys started a freaking business from their garage. That's what I did. But guess what? Because I'm blue collar, my collar ain't white, I can't start a business from my garage because I got a dually truck in my driveway. That's a problem. But if I have a freaking Scion or a Tesla and a computer in my garage, that's fine. I can start. What kind of garbage is that? They have literally made it where you cannot start a business from your home anymore. To rent an industrial zoned area for the kind of work I do and park my work trucks with trailers would cost me $12,000 a month. Though I do decent as a businessman, I don't have $12,000 a month to pay for an industrial zoned area to park my pumps and my one-ton trucks. This is crap. Now, on the flip side of things, in Mesa, where I'm at, and I hope there's nobody going to get offended by this, but there's a lot of people in Mesa who happen to be of the Hispanic origin. My wife is as well. But they're illegals, many of them. They rent houses, many of them. Many of them park dump trucks on their front lawn across their grass, destroy their front lawns, and destroy their properties. And that is not enforced by the city of Mesa because those illegals are subcontractors for the Mormon Mafia, who are making a ton of freaking money off those illegals so they can park their stuff at their house and I can't park it at my house because I'm white. So all these white Mormons hate me because I'm white and not Mormon in Mesa, unfortunately. Andy Biggs is Mormon, by the way.
Okay, do we have another question from the audience? Okay, any questions from our press? Newspapers, radio station? Radio station. Don't you have a microphone back there?
So my question has to do with the flock cameras.
I would like to remove every single one of them from the state.
Very good. So we've got them here. I would like them removed too.
Yeah. I think that's an invasion of all of our privacy, 100%. That's not, we're not living in a free country if we're under constant surveillance.
Okay, 2 minutes closing of why we should vote for you in the primary.
You should vote for me because this is the last time I'm running for governor. This is my second and my last time, not going to do it again. Because we are at the end of America's best days and heading towards its worst if we don't make change now. You should vote for me because I've never spent any time in politics in my life other than trying to run last time and this time. That's it. You should vote for me because I'm a small businessman who's felt the pain that you guys have felt. You should vote for me because I didn't start a white-collar business from my garage. I started a blue-collar business from my garage. You should vote for me because I want to bring back trade schools to Arizona and I want to have kids have practical skills again. You should vote for me because I love America and I want to save America and I want to prevent a civil war. You should vote for me because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a bureaucrat. I've never served time on any board, not even an HOA board. Don't like it with HOAs. You should vote for me because I am everything in the essence of everything that's right about America versus the bureaucrats that you guys are saying are in this room that is everything that is wrong about America. You should vote for me for that reason. You should vote for me because even the Hispanic community, Republicans and Democrats, are voting for me in the Phoenix metro area. You should vote for me because I'm going to crack down on crime in a way that Democrats and Republicans haven't in a very long time. You should vote for me because E-Verify is a scam, and my brother-in-law, who's Hispanic and had his social stolen by an illegal, and that illegal's been using it for 2 decades. What E-Verify does is, all it does is it says that the social, the number that you're running through the system, all it says is that number is a valid number that the federal government did issue. It does not cross-check it with the name. So if they steal my number and put, Rafael Iglesias on it, let's say, and they run it through, it will pass through E-Verify. This has allowed Democrat and Republicans to act like they're hiring citizens for the last 20 years, ever since SB 1070, ever since the DACA thing. This has allowed them to essentially pretend they have legal citizens working for them, when in fact these legal citizens can't speak any English. And by the way, if they were legal citizens, you have to take the test in English, not Spanish. So they're not legal citizens. Common sense says that. And I'm not anti all illegal aliens per se, but I do want the really criminal ones out of this country. And then the DACA ones that were raised here as children, I think we should keep them and give them a pathway to citizenship here because they were brought here of no fault of their own. And I think the DACA kids should be able to stay and work here because we've already invested in them through public school system. These kids are already in the workforce today. So we shouldn't repel them out of the country. But the MS-13s and the really bad hombres and the really bad dudes I've dealt with on job sites before and had to get in fist fights with that aren't good people, those ones should be repelled from the United States, removed from the United States, and immediately. That's another reason why you should vote for me. I'm here to protect our country. I'm here to build our men back up. I'm here to make Arizona better for all parties, Democrat, Republican, Independent. I'm an independent-minded, thinking Republican, who, by the way, most don't know this, but when I debated Kari Lake in 2022, it was because I sued the Republican Party of Arizona. I sued Kelly Ward, the chair, and I sued Kari Lake because they would, my own party, who I voted for in my whole life and my dad raised me in, would not allow me to run a campaign against Kari Lake and debate her on television. What kind of communist garbage was that? Huh? They protect their favored candidates. Their current favorite candidate is Biggs, which is why they turned my mic off. But it worked out to my advantage because then I didn't attack him. I just talked about solutions to making our state better, which actually make me look more presidential, which actually might have helped me win this election. Another reason you should vote for me. I am the only clean elections candidate, and if you don't know what clean elections means, it's this. I had to get 5,000 people to give me a form filled out and a $5 bill. And if I could prove that that was real and legit, and get my signatures, which I did also get 12,731. If I could prove it was all legit, which I did, and I had to jump through hoops for months, and I had to do it all with volunteers, and I couldn't even use my money to run for governor. So I had to do this all off volunteers that were just praying and hoping I would get the clean elections money. I got it. I have $1.2 million. I got it last week. In the last 3 weeks of this election, I am dumping $1.2 million into massive advertising of the likes Biggs and Schweikert can't even come close to, because Biggs is out of money, Schweikert's only got 80 grand, and Turning Point isn't going to dump much more money into Biggs because their ship is sinking as we speak, unfortunately, after the loss of their wonderful boss. But the people running it now are running it into the ground, sadly. God bless Charlie Kirk.
Okay, we're gonna have to stop right there because we have a lot of other candidates who need to talk, but thank you very much for coming out to
Thank you very
Quartzsite.
Thank you.
All right, next on up is Rodney Glassman.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Is that okay? Everyone can hear me now? First off, thank you, Phil. I appreciate all of your support, and thank you for helping us. It's great to be here. I started off this morning in Phoenix. I had lunch in Tucson with some old friends, swapped out team members so that we could get here out to visit with all of you. So I really appreciate your time. I'm Rodney Glassman. I'm running for Arizona Attorney General. I'm running to protect our cops. I'm running to protect our kids. And I'm running to protect Arizona's prosperity. You know, how many of you are precinct committee people? How many of you know what precinct committee people are? So every legislative district, and there's 30 of them, we have the precinct committee people, and we go out and collect 10 signatures from our neighbors so that we can be the experts on telling all our other neighbors what they should be working on. Pretty irrelevant, but important in the sense that I like to know who I'm talking to. How many of you voted for President Trump? How many of you like President Trump? How many of you think it's crazy that we live in a state where President Trump won by over 5 percentage points, but we have an insane Democrat Attorney General who has sued the Trump administration 42 times in the past 16 months? Everyone agree that's insane? But it's interesting because when I go out into the community and I ask voters, who does the Attorney General work for? Guess what answer I get? The governor. Everyone thinks the Attorney General works for the governor. But in Arizona, we elect our Attorney General, and that means the Attorney General doesn't work for the legislature, and the Attorney General doesn't work for the governor. Who's the Attorney General supposed to work for? The people that put him there. And I've been married 17 years to my law school sweetheart, Sasha. We have 2 teenage daughters. They're 15 and 13. So if you're wondering why I'm in a good mood, it's because when I go home, I don't get to speak very much. But I call the Attorney General the wife or mom of government. Why? Because at home, who's in charge? Exactly. And only the Attorney General can wake up in the morning and decide she hates law enforcement. We have an Attorney General in Arizona right now who thinks it's okay for Arizonans to shoot ICE agents. We have an Attorney General right now who thinks that biological boys should compete against girls. We have an Attorney General right now who does not believe in investigating and prosecuting election fraud. How many of you care about election fraud? Which statewide elected official, and it's not the governor and it's not the Secretary of State, which statewide elected official that we will nominate this July and elect this November is in charge of investigating and prosecuting election fraud. The Attorney General. But we have an Attorney General right now who's suing the Cochise County Board of Supervisors in southern Arizona for having the audacity to want to count their own ballots. It's worse than that. She files her lawsuits, she sends out press releases, and then she asks liberals across the country to send her money. She's a professional resistance resume builder. So now, in our Republican primary for Attorney General, everyone have your ballots? You only get two choices. I'm a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force JAG Corps. I'm a reservist now at Luke Air Force Base. I've been a prosecutor for 17 years. I've prosecuted drug dealers and financial crimes and protected victims of sexual assault. When I put on my uniform now as a lieutenant colonel to go out to Luke, I run the active duty legal office of over 25 JAGs, paralegals, and support staff who provide all the legal services for the one-star general and the squadron commanders. I'm also a private sector attorney. I've fed my family for almost 20 years as a lawyer, a commercial litigator, now a plaintiff's attorney. And the way I describe that is I get hired by strangers with their own money to be their lawyer. My only primary opponent, there's only one other name on the ballot, is a guy named Warren Peterson. Warren Peterson is the president of the current Arizona State Senate. It's a part-time job. He's also a part-time realtor. He'll be 50 years old in September, and he got his law license 28 months ago. He's never filed a lawsuit as a lawyer. He's never prosecuted a criminal as a lawyer, and he's never worked in a law office as a lawyer. And if we nominate someone with zero experience, if we nominate a career politician with zero experience as a lawyer to run against Chris Mays in November, guess what we're going to get in November? 4 more years of Chris Mays. And Arizona can't afford it. How many of you would ever go get a knee replacement from an orthopod that had never done knee surgery before? How many of you would ever go list your house with a realtor who had never sold a house before? So no, this is the most important question, because remember, I'm running for Attorney General to protect our cops, our kids, and Arizona's prosperity. How many of you, if you were in an emergency and needed to hire a lawyer to protect your wife, to protect your kids, to protect your grandkids, how many of you would ever go out and hire a lawyer who had never had a client before to protect your family? Because if the answer is none of you, then hopefully this Republican primary becomes very easy. My website's rodneyglassman.com. This is a job interview because the Attorney General runs the largest law office in the state, over 400 attorneys and 1,000 support staff that provide all the legal services for every state agency. Every state agency. None of the state agencies have their own attorneys. The governor appoints the department heads, but none of the state agencies have their own attorneys. The Department of Agriculture, the Department of Water Resources, the Department of Real Estate, Child Protective Services, none of those agencies have their own attorneys. Even the Department of Education. One of my campaign chairs is Tom Horn, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, the former Attorney General. Guess how many attorneys the Department of Education has? None, all Assistant Attorney Generals. That's why this job is the mom or wife of government. So it's a job interview. I'm here to get hired by you. I need your support. I need you to consider. I need you to vote for me. And how many of you learned something new tonight about the Attorney General's job? If you did, thank you for that. If you did, imagine how little your doctor, your lawyer, your realtor, your kid's teacher, your mahjong buddy, your pickleball partner, you guys play that out here? Yeah. Imagine how little your friends know about this job. And so what I need your help with in the next 3 weeks, in addition to your vote tonight when you go home, is I need you to educate your friends and family, because otherwise they have no idea who to vote for. This race is 60% undecided. 60% undecided. So I need your help. And so I'd love to answer any questions that you have, because I'm excited to earn your vote.
I got the first question.
Okay.
Moderator's privilege. There's a lot of fraud goes on, and I know that there's several committees that the Attorney General takes a look on, like for elder fraud, fraud against elders, fraud against veterans, and things like that. On the other hand, you mentioned about hiring lawyers. Just about all of us here in this room are on fixed incomes, and when we run into these fraud issues, we don't have enough money to get a lawyer. So how can the Attorney General help folks in us like us in this room that can't afford to get attorneys when we're faced with problems that require an attorney to get us back on track?
Great question from Philip. I appreciate that. And I'm staring at Penny Pugh. You all know Penny?
Yeah, we know Penny.
Okay. So, but I'm staring at her because to your question, I was going to start with something important. Remember how I said it's 400 attorneys and 1,000 support staff at the Attorney General's office? The Attorney General also gets 60 gun-carrying, badge-carrying, post-certified investigators. Right now, Chris Mays uses those investigators. She sends them to Palm Beach, Florida, to harass Rudy Giuliani, the 85-year-old mayor of New York, over the 2020 election. Imagine if you had an Attorney General who gave a damn about protecting consumers and protecting seniors and investigating consumer fraud here in Arizona. And instead of wasting those investigators, when you called the Attorney General's office to file a complaint, an investigation was open and pursued. And that's why I was looking at Penny. That's why you all know Congressman Paul Gosar. That's why Paul Gosar, Philip, when I talk about this, the reason I'm so proud is because Congressman Paul Gosar has endorsed Andy Biggs for governor and me, Rodney Glassman, for Attorney General. And the reason why is because it's not good enough just to say you're going to go investigate things. There's only 2 Republicans running for Attorney General. Only one of us has ever opened an investigation and prosecuted a criminal before, which is an important skill set when it comes to going after unlicensed contractors, when it comes to going after these fraudsters that are out trying to take advantage of our seniors, whether it's over roof repairs or in rural areas, the solar companies. All those different things all fall to the Attorney General's office, and it requires someone that's willing to answer the phone. Only guy running that's ever called a client back. Only guy that's ever had clients. Only guy that's ever worked with the Department of Justice, the Secret Service, the FBI, the IRS, all the different jurisdictions around Luke Air Force Base, and we put together our investigations and then prosecute and convict. That's the kind of experience that I will bring when you call my office, our office, and need me to do something for you and your family.
Okay, you get the first question.
Jim Fuller, Lake Havasu.
Jim? No, Lake Havasu. Do you know Sonny Borelli?
I don't want to know.
He's a Marine, but if you overlook that fact, he's a good man.
There's a few Marines in the.
Where all the Marines are in the back though, so we're okay.
No,
Jim,
you got
sorry.
one over here too.
Oh shit.
My question is, I see that Trump is endorsing Peterson. Am I
Jim?
wrong in
It's
that?
Jim, right?
I mean,
Yes.
I see
How many of you like being lied to? Anybody? I'm going to answer your question. Do you like being lied to?
No, sir.
How old are you? Do you mind if I ask how old?
I'm 76.
So you're 76 and you don't like being lied to. Question for you.
Absolutely not.
If I was, I'll give you the context. There was a Turning Point rally 3 months ago. And I'll answer your question. You don't even have to stand up if you don't want to. There was a Turning Point rally 3 months ago. Remember President Trump came to Arizona? President Trump was on the stage and he announced the names of 10 people that are there. Kurt Schilling, remember him from the Arizona Diamondbacks? Yeah. Jeremy Roenick, remember him from the, I call him Chicago Blackhawks, but he played for other teams too. Remember him? Danica Patrick, the NASCAR driver. And in the audience, not on the stage because he's not endorsed by Turning Point, and not on the stage because he's not endorsed by President Trump, was my opponent sitting there. The president said his name. My opponent then took that recording and has spent over $1 million trying to trick you. into thinking that he's endorsed when he's not. In fact, he just sent an email out yesterday to his whole email list because it got forwarded to me about how the president was in his TV commercial. Is that honest? That's not honest. In fact, we were talking about earlier with Mike. It's like me going and getting a haircut last week and then running around the state describing myself as a barber. That's a lie. That is a lie. Now I'll tell you a real story, which I think is kind of exciting. It involves our friend Sonny Borelli. Everybody remember June 13th, the day before Flag Day? On June 13th, that was the day after the legislature ended. The legislature closed on June 12th. Sonny Borelli, the Mojave County supervisor, is a dear friend of mine. We've been friends since 2009. He said, I want to endorse you, but I can't endorse you if your opponent, who's the head of the Senate, is going to punish Mojave County. So wait until after legislature's over. The day after the legislature closed and Sonny could no longer be hurt and your county could no longer be hurt by my vindictive opponent, Sonny Borelli posted my endorsement on his Twitter and whatever else, all on his social media. You know what else June 14th was besides Flag Day? President Trump's birthday. And sometime, any of you on True Social? Sometime between having breakfast, the UFC fight, and signing a deal with Iran, the President of the United States took Sonny Borelli's endorsement of me and posted it on his Truth Social page. Am I endorsed by the President? No. Am I endorsed by Sonny Borelli? And did the President of the United States take Sonny's endorsement and post it on his True Social page? Yes. Do you see me running TV advertisements trying to trick you? No, because I am what I like to describe as honest. I have what I like to describe as integrity. That's how disgusting politics has become. Politicians spend money to try to trick you into thinking that things that are not true are true. The reason why our campaign is building the kind of momentum we have with the Maricopa County Sheriff. In fact, the words that Congressman Gosar uses every time we're together, he says, Andy Biggs and Rodney Glassman are the only two Republicans running that I trust to be honest and do the jobs that they're running for. So I appreciate that question. If you see people being tricked, please clarify for them because it's just not true. The president has not made endorsement in this race and neither has Turning Point.
Okay, we're going to let somebody else ask a next question.
Well, I hope I can get your vote. I would love that, and I would love you to tell others, please.
Okay. Mike Roth?
Mike.
20-year resident of Quartzsite. I'm wondering what the Attorney General's office could do about corruption and fraud in the local government, and what you can do specifically about lawfare. Okay, as a victim of lawfare,
where my property was stolen, liened, everything I own taken, and now I got to come up, with 50,000 plus to sue a municipality because we got a crooked, administrative court here. What can we do? I mean, can you do anything, or are we on our own like we have been?
Tell me your first name. It's Mike.
Michael.
Mike.
Yeah.
Michael. Thank you for that question. So it goes back to Philip's question. 60 gun-carrying, badge-carrying investigators in charge of investigating crimes against Arizonans. We have wonderful candidates for governor. Have you heard from all of them? And they all come and they all talk about rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. You know how many investigators the governor's office gets to investigate? I'll give you a hint. 0. Guess who they all work for? The Attorney General. So yes, opening investigations. When it comes to municipalities, making sure that municipal government is following the rules, making sure they're following the rules. There's something called open meeting laws. You all heard of those? Open meeting laws where they have to notice the public when they make decisions. Guess which statewide elected official, Michael, is in charge of investigating and enforcing Arizona's open meeting laws? Any guesses?
you?
the Attorney General. When you have elections in the rural communities for your judges, which statewide elected official is in charge of investigating and prosecuting election fraud? The Attorney General. This is the job where job number one is showing up. That's why I'm proud to have the congressman. That's why I'm proud to have, like or dislike his politics or his personality, Sonny shows up. And that's my reputation, is showing up, answering the phone, calling back. That's what I do. I have a servant's heart. I've served in the military for over 17 years. I know some of you in the Marines may not call the Air Force the military. That's okay, but that's why I talk slow when I know you're in the room. But that was a joke. Smile. There we go. Okay. You remind me of because my dad, it's a compliment. Is my other than my wife, my best friend, and Tell me what's your name? Mark? Paul. What are you thinking, Paul? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking about I've been a lifelong Republican, and now at this point, basically, both parties are corrupt at a certain point.
They are, Paul. Did you vote for President Trump?
Yes.
Did you vote for President Reagan? Yes. President Reagan?
Reagan.
Yeah.
Go off your road.
Did you? I'm going to ask you, do you mind me asking?
If he voted for Trump, he voted for Reagan.
The reason you jogged my Paul. I always like everyone to just answer because you never know what you're going to learn. So when you said lifelong Republican, something jogged in my mind, because if you voted for President Trump and you voted for President Reagan, and you mentioned you were a lifelong Republican.
Let you know something here. As a lifelong Republican, I'm going to vote for Chris as Attorney General because she's done so much for the people, actually done stuff for the people who aren't mentioned here. The majority of people here are not represented.
Especially in Quartzsite lately.
Well, my contention would be this. Let me finish my comment to you, and then I'm going to give you a point of why you should vote for, why you should get me through the primary, and why you should give me the chance to earn your vote for the general. First off, when it comes to the primary, you probably saw the ads. If you voted for President Trump and you voted for President Reagan and you're a lifelong Republican, hopefully you'll be excited about voting for me, because like President Trump and like President Reagan, I left the Democrat Party. I left the Democrat Party June 16th, 2015, the day that President Trump came down the escalator. And I share that story, Paul. I always try to figure out when I can share it, because my opponent, in addition to lying to everyone about not being endorsed, also has spent over $1 million advertising that like President Trump and like President Reagan, I left the Democrat Party. I think that's a strength. When it comes to representing rural Arizona and showing up, which I will do, Chris Mays has done Arizonans a great disservice. And the reason why, how long you guys been married?
1 year.
Oh, really? Newlyweds, congratulations. You get more, my wife always says, as long as I ask permission first, I'm allowed to ask anything I want if you say yes. But she has me trained to always say, may I ask you a question first? Otherwise, I don't want to be disrespectful. That's amazing.
She's the best.
You get more with honey than you do with vinegar. And what we have right now in Chris Mays, while she shows up to your community, she might show up and do a town hall, and she might listen. The challenge we have with her is we have an attorney general that can't work with the administration and can't work with others. She fights with her own governor. She fights with our president. Why does it matter? I was just down in Yuma, at the Yuma County border with the Maricopa County Sheriff, who's the chairman of my campaign, and also Sheriff Leon Wilmot, who's the sheriff down there. We were traveling the border. The border's secure. President Trump's done a great job with the border.
It's because I'm building the border wall.
We then visited the Yuma Medical Center. The Yuma Medical Center, during the Biden surges, which were supported by Chris Mays, provided $20 million worth of unreimbursed services to illegals because of the open border policy. We don't have an attorney general that can pick up the phone and bring that money back to Arizona. We don't have an attorney general that can work collaboratively with all parties. Have you ever hired an attorney before, Paul?
No.
When you hire an attorney, I'm going to share this with you because some of you probably have. Most of the time that you hire an attorney, it's not to file. Oh yeah, most of the time it's not to file a lawsuit. Most of the time it's to come up with a solution, to work collaboratively, to provide leadership, to bring people together. That's not what that's not to file a lawsuit. You hire them to do all that other work as well.
All right, we got some feedback here.
Let's
Do,
switch
let,
to the other mic for me.
What we have in Chris Mays is someone who is doing nothing other than building a resistance resume for her next office. She's not working collaboratively. She's not working with everyone, and that's what we need as the Attorney General.
We have an investigation right now in RV parks. We have bully managers. People are living in fear on their properties in Quartzsite at this moment.
I love
She's in
this.
here investigating. She's done it. Made people from. It was before everybody. You can turn the power off and they don't pay.
Remember, this is about a Republican primary right now. This is about a Republican primary now. You know who just sent over $100,000 to my primary opponent to pay for those
That
ads?
works for us. We're
The
talking
people
about
he's
here.
talking about.
Not all over the place. She's done stuff for us and the people that I've seen in other states.
I'm going to show up, and the issue you're talking about, that association is literally funding my primary opponents' commercials against it. Do you vote Republican?
I'm independent, but I vote Republican to get out of the right.
Did you? I appreciate your honesty because you started with I'm a lifelong Republican, and now you've acknowledged you're independent. Did you pull a
I agree with what she's doing.
Did you pull a Republican ballot for this primary?
Yes.
So then I would love to have your vote. I'd love to earn your
We
vote.
both know my personal information.
I would love to earn your vote in this primary where you have a ballot. You can vote for me.
You don't have it.
okay, we have time for one more question from the audience. Anybody else have a question?
And by the way, Chris Mays was a Republican who became a Democrat, just so you know. So he went from Democrat to Republican. She went from Republican to Democrat.
One last question.
Okay, one last question. Any question from the press, newspapers, radio station? Okay, take 2 minutes to convince us why we need to vote for you.
If you...
Here, use this.
First off, I want to say thank you, Paul, for interacting with me. Second off, I want to thank you for sharing with the group because I agree with you. If you like Chris Mays, the current Democrat, who's suing the Trump administration, who believes in open borders, who thinks that boys should compete against girls, that is suing private property owners because she doesn't believe in property rights, who is suing the hefty garbage bag company because she doesn't like the way that they design their boxes. If you like the current Democrat Attorney General, like Paul, I'm not for you. If you would like to hire a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force JAG Corps Reserve who's been a prosecutor for 17 years, who knows how to investigate and prosecute and will enforce Arizona's election laws, and will use the 60 gun-carrying, badge-carrying investigators that we have at the Attorney General's office to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, to protect seniors, to protect consumers, to answer the phones when the phone call comes out, and show up to your community, meaning all communities, because I've made a living calling my clients back for almost 20 years, then I'd love you to visit my website. It's rodneyglassman.com. I'd love for you to consider checking out my military records at the top, maybe even in the top right-hand corner. There's a button. You can send me a few bucks so I can buy some more TV ads because I don't have the Mobile Home Park Association funding my PAC like my primary opponent, Warren Peterson. So that's your choice in this Republican primary. If you want someone that's going to work for you, that's worked for other people doing this job, then please visit my website, vote Rodney Glassman, tell your friends, educate them. I will show up. I will do a good job. You get me through this primary and you will not regret it. So Paul, thank you for your help. Thank you for your question. Michael, thank you as well. Penny, thank you for the support of the congressman. And most importantly, all of you, I hope you will give me due consideration because I'd love to be your attorney. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Rodney, for coming out to Quartzsite. We really appreciate it. A couple weeks ago, we got to meet two other candidates for LD30 for the primary. Tonight we have 3 more, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Introduce yourself, take about 3 minutes, and we'll start over here with you. Tell us why you're here and why we should vote for you.
So, good evening, everybody. Can you guys all hear me? Okay, great. So I'm Catherine Lopez Rajanimi, and I'm running for Arizona House of Representative LD30. So my name, Lopez Rajanimi, Catherine, it's the longest name on the ballot, so just remember that. The reason why I'm running is because I'm tired of everything that is going on. I feel your guys' pain. So I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I'm a sister of 4 veterans. 2 of my brothers were in Vietnam, and they came back okay. I'll put it that way. My one brother passed away shortly after he came back. I remember him. But my other brother, who I'm the closest to, we talk quite often, and he sounds a lot like my dad. And when I decided to run, I said to him, I go, Dad would think I was crazy, right? And he goes, no, Dad would be proud of you. Because I want to be the people's voice. I want to be your voice. I want to be our voice. I want to be my family's voice because I'm tired. And that's why I'm up here running. Most of you guys received my resume earlier because we're up here applying for a job to work for you all. And I think it's important that you know who we are. And that's my transparency right there. I started working at the age of 17, and I have not stopped working like most of you. The other important job I have is I take care of my 96-year-old mom because she would not be able to afford to live on her own. It's getting harder and harder. The other thing why I'm up here is because I want to make sure our future generations can have the American dream, right? That is getting further away. The average age to purchase a home now is the age of anywhere between 38 and 40. We can't have that. We need people working for us that have been in the industries that are important. Someone just asked me about insurance. How many of you have insurance? All of us, in one shape or form. Well, I'm a licensed insurance agent. So I've had to be vetted by our government. So to be a licensed insurance agent, I think that's important as well. I actually worked with my husband when the recession happened. I started working with him 18 years ago in the construction industry. So I know some of the reasons why the cost of affordable housing continues to rise, but we don't have people representing us that have that knowledge and information.
Okay, we're going to cut you off there. We got to let the other candidates do their introductions. Try to keep it at 3 minutes, please.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, Quartzsite. My name is Caroline Strecker, and I'm one of the candidates running for the State House of Representatives. My background, a little bit of my education. My father was a local physician. If you do recognize the last name Strecker, it's because I'm the daughter of Dr. Robert Strecker. He served at La Paz Regional for many, many years, and I like my dad. My dad was the doctor, my mom was the nurse, and so I'm the nurse practitioner. I'm a family nurse practitioner board certified. I worked for Bullhead Fire. I was a critical care transport nurse, and that base right over there, Care Flight 8, is a former base of mine that I flew out of. I'm familiar with Quartzsite. I've transported many patients out of this area, so I do have understanding and empathy for many of my patients. I still work in the emergency department, just like my dad. I work out of Vegas to keep my skills up, but I'm a small business owner. I own my own clinic in Bullhead City, and I continue to work. I'm actually now the president. I just found out a week and a half ago. Thank you to President Litz, and I am now the president for the Mojave County Board of Health. I remain unjabbed to this day. I survived the pandemic, and My political experience was that I was one of the, by the luck of a card draw, I was one of the alternate delegates to help go vote for President Trump at the RNC in 2024 in Wisconsin. In 2025, I was also one of Arizona's primary delegates for the Arizona Young Republicans in Nashville, Tennessee, and at the Federation Convention that year. My topics that I'm pretty much fighting for is what I call the RISE acronym. R is for resources, our water and our energy. We are in an absolute crisis at this time. I is for integrity, so just overall general integrity. I'm a healthcare provider, and so election integrity is one. S is for safety, so we have to support our law enforcement, and public safety is an absolute essential as well. And finally, for E is education, and I believe in exceptional health care. Out of 90 legislators at the state capitol right now, less than 5 have experience in health care. This means that you have a majority of the legislature that is dictating $4.6 billion of your budget. I'm Caroline Strecker, and I'm running for the House.
Okay, thank you.
See if it stays. It's not tall guy friendly. I'll just hold it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Ganuccio. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm a 26-year resident of Mojave County. Myself and my wife are ranchers in Kingman, Arizona. We run, up until this year, we ran about 36,000 acres of Angus cattle, and we farm in Parker. I spent the last 5 years after I retired as a law enforcement officer working for the ranching community. So for the last 5 years, I've been a volunteer in legislature representing all the ranchers in legislation to make sure that we can do the right thing for folks like you. We've tried to run bills from putting a label on our meat packages that say where it's come from, because you want to know if your beef comes from Arizona, New Mexico, or Bill Gates' lab. So it's our fight. We fight it every day. We don't want MNRA in our beef. We want to make sure all that stuff stays. So why am I, thank you. Why am I running for this position? 5 years as being a volunteer. I want to keep doing the things that I do. When I retired from cattle growers a year ago, I was asked by our current representative, John Gillette, who's my neighbor and retiring, to run for this position, because I've worked with him in legislature along with several other legislators that asked me to do this. I'm here to make a difference. I'm here to be involved. My company, currently, we have a trucking company that hauls hay from Parker all over the state of Arizona. Again, our farm is in Parker. We grow alfalfa in Bermuda. We support the beef and cattle industry with it. Anyway, I don't want to get the axe from this guy over here, so he's got me all nervous. So I look forward to your questions. I look forward to having conversations with you. But again, you have to allow me this. So you have two positions for those of you that don't know. And it's really important that we work together. And there's no animosity. So my ask is when you pick your two candidates that you're going to get for this position, because we're losing them both, pick two people that have different strengths that are far apart, so that we can get more done for you in legislature, because you're going to have 2 representatives and 1 senator, which will be Leo Biasucci, so we can get more done for you and represent you. So anyway, thank you. Come July 21st, please vote Mike Ganuccio as one of your next representatives.
I will say the beekeepers and cattle growers are very similar, but he brands the cattle, the bees brand us. So we'll start. The first question is, if we elect you, what's going to be the first 3 legislation that you're going to drop?
Can you hear me? Okay. The most important one, obviously, is water. We need to work on water. Infrastructure is Infrastructure also is very important. So those two I will work on. Also building relationships with our other representatives so we can get more done. That is most important. Like Mike mentioned, we have to have a diversified background to be able to represent you all. One of the things I did not get to mention, I work in the trades, my husband and I. we're co-founders of the Academy Building Industries. I want to bring the trades back, and we have in our local area, we have a trade high school where kids can learn, students can learn about construction, they can learn about welding. We currently are doing that now in Fort Mojave, and we were co-owners of that, or co-founders of that, so I'm very proud of that. So that is what I want to do, to make sure that I represent a diverse background of all of us and be able to have those conversations, those discussions, and arguments to make sure that we get our fair share in rural Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. So actually, I'm part of the ASRA, which is the Arizona Republican Assembly body, and I was actually endorsed by them as a body. I'm really not trying to go to the legislature to bring more legislation to the people. If anything, and I was actually part of some of these things called the scorecards, like the Liberty scorecards or the ASRA scorecards, where we look at candidates and we grade you on how constitutional that you are, how conservative that you are, and I was actually asked by the ASRA president. So in the past 5-6 months, I have actually reviewed over 500 bills. We had a total of more than 2,000 go through the legislature. I think this is ridiculous. This is over-regulation, and if anything that I would go to the legislature, I would prefer, and these are called striker bills, where I would go in and look at legislation that's important to us, like water and law enforcement. I think we need harder fentanyl disciplinary actions. I think that when it comes to sex trafficking and some of the illegalities that are happening, that we need harder disciplinary actions. I think that the legislature needs to have a water study done a minimum, in a perfect world, every 5 years, but I'm willing to compromise on every 10. So I'm actually really not looking to go to the legislature to over-regulate. If anything, we need to cut back, and we need to stop trying to introduce all ridiculous 500, 1,000, 2,000 bills. So that would be my answer.
No, it's okay. I think it's this one, right? No, maybe not. So if there was bills I wanted to drop, there was two. One was a squatters bill, but the governor actually signed one off. So now I want to look at that bill and see where it's at. I'm tired of people taking people's homes from them when they go on vacation. The other is a mutual aid bill, because we have an issue with jurisdictions crossing the border. I had one here. I was out at Dome Rock Road and had a fire, and California to Arizona became an issue. So we do need a mutual aid bill, but I'm really not about pushing a whole bunch of legislation for new laws. In the past, I've fought for the water off the river to keep Maricopa from taking our water with some of our past legislators and some of our supervisors in Mojave County. I'm more into finding old laws that are no good. Last year I had one done, ARS 13-1602A4, didn't make any sense. And I got Representative Dave Cook to rewrite that law so it made sense, and it was for cattlemen, and it made it where no one shall obstruct cattle or game or anything from getting to their primary source of water, because it's been a problem. So fixing old legislation is better than putting new legislation, as our ARS book just gets thicker and thicker.
Next question's really easy. Which committees would you like to sit on?
I'll start this time. So I'd like to be on the Arizona Department of Health and Human Services. We have Representative Selena Bliss, she's part of a different district, but she's one of the members and representatives right now, also a nurse practitioner, which I think not only being a nurse, but then also on a provider level. So I'm very comfortable. I'm already credentialed with Medicare, Medicaid, Access, TRICARE West. So I have familiarity and the credentialing to be on these committees. So I would like to be on that one.
So that was a concern when I ran for this position, because I think that you should be able to go onto a committee that your strong suit is. So I went and talked to the speaker and asked him, if I win this position, do I get what my strong points are? Because you don't know where you're going to go. And he said, what are you strong in? And I said, well, I've worked water, law enforcement, roads. I've been in construction most of my life. So he said, as long as you're good at it, he would be happy to put me there. So Again, I'm pro law enforcement, so I want to make sure our DPS officers and our local agencies get the tools and resources they need, all the way down to, I really want to be on the Natural Resource and Water Committees so that I can protect our water in the state of Arizona.
So one of the things that I paid attention to when I've gone up to the Capitol is what has gone on with the Department of Child Safety and Family Courts. So I would want to be on the Judiciary Committee. But I know that we get a questionnaire that they're going to put us where we're fit, where they want us to go, where we're going to do the best work. So it's going to be on what that ends up having to come through to us. So once we answer the questionnaire, they're going to see where we're going to fit the best. We are going to go in as freshmen. So my main thing is going to be learning, paying attention, being a voice when need to be, but mostly it's going to be learning where we need to be at. So that is where I'm going to be working on, is learning. Remember, we're going in as freshmen. We're not incumbents. So that's going to be my best answer, is learning and being able to find out where we fit when we fill out the questionnaire, what committee we're best going to be suited for to represent you all and be our voice.
Okay, thank you. Now, there's 5 candidates for 2 positions. Trying to being respectful to each other. Why should we vote for you instead of the other 3? What was the other 4? Sorry. Again, Marine. Public school, math, art stuff.
I'll start again. So one is, again, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but the Arizona state budget is about $16 billion plus or minus dollars. And out of all of the legislators that are there right now, like I said, less than 5, and 3 of those 5 simply have health policy experience. It means that they have absolutely 0 clinical experience. I have been an acute care inpatient hospitalist. I was responsible on average for the entire community hospital except the emergency department and OB, which means that I oversaw med-surg, tele, radiology. I took care of the intensive care unit, and I was the only hospitalist live in that time. So if there was an emergency, I was the one who was responding and who took care of the patients, really. I also worked in primary care. So outside of the hospital, I worked with Humana, Aetna, again, all of the insurance companies. I've worked in the hospital, out of the hospital, and with EMS. I forgot to mention earlier, I went to Mojave Community College and now Mojave College. It's really difficult for me to adjust, but I'm a teacher. So I'm not only a healthcare provider, but I'm helping raise the next generation of nurses. We have a shortage coming down the pipeline. It's going to affect us on the national level, but in particular, Arizona severely. So out of the entire Arizona state budget, I have 75% of that accounts for education and then healthcare. So I have firsthand experience, and I think that's why you should choose me.
I don't know how many of you folks have actually seen what goes on at the Capitol and legislature when bills coming through, but you would be sick to your stomach with some of the things that they try to get passed. I think in this position we need somebody with a lot of life experience so that you can make your way through the stuff that's on the bottom of my boot after I walk out of my corrals. Why me? I've been a volunteer there for 5 years. My first year as president, we got over $22 million out of state budget to go to the beef and cattle industry. Experience matters. I'm not here to say anyone is any better or any less. I'm saying that I will work hard for you and hit the ground running from day one and work great with anyone else that you may pick so that we can work as a team and get more done. Thank you.
I will work hard. I've been working hard since I was 17 years old. I will show up and I will be there. I've been doing that for years for myself. I am a business leader. I have multiple businesses. It is important. I understand the struggles of small businesses. I actually sit on the Fort Mojave Mesa Fire Board where we had a balanced budget. We had capital. We sat in the black. So I know the importance of being fiscally responsible, not just for my companies, but for my community. Rural fire is important to me as well. I have that background. A diverse background is so important, and that's what I bring to us. That is why I handed out my resume to you all, because I want to show you what I've done, what I do, and transparency is important. I am going to work hard. I always have. It's what my father, my parents instilled in me. And I know you guys all have. And I look at all of you and you're all, are hard workers. So you guys understand that. So please vote for me. I'm Catherine Lopez Rajanimi, the longest name on the ballot.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to open it up to questions from the audience. Who's going to go first? Anyone?
I got one.
Thank you.
So far, it's free for free, right?
Thank you.
We've been duped so many times by politicians. Why should we believe you now?
So to say that we're not politicians would be being dishonest. We're running for a political position. But there isn't one of us standing up here today that isn't a hardworking, normal person I'm a rancher. She's a nurse. We all are just regular people trying to make a difference in our community. There's no hold on us from anything that's political other than to try and do what we feel is best for you. So my promise is I will do what's best, and I will leave, my phone number's back there. I don't hide it from anyone. If there's something that you need or I'm doing something wrong, I want to hear from you because I'm there to represent you, LD30, anyone in my district. So my pledge to you is to be available and make sure that I'm doing the right thing. I expect you to hold me accountable.
Pretty much what Mike said. And I've never been in an elected position. Everything that I've done up until this point, and including being on the Mojave County Board of Health, that's not an elected position. I was appointed by my own district supervisor, Supervisor Ron Gould, twice actually. The first time was for a committee that I knew nothing really about. It was for the Public Lands and Recreation Committee. But I love riding our family takes Can-Am rides. We love riding our side-by-sides out into the desert. And I was very angry to find out what the Biden administration, what BLM was trying to do, coming into Mojave County and La Paz and Yavapai and trying to take our land away from us. So I learned a lot. That added to my experience, but all volunteer. And even now, I was the VP and now the president, it's scary and intimidating, but I don't ask for reimbursement. The county has offered me reimbursement for gas and time and whatnot, and I actually allocated all of that, and every time I go up to the county, it is on my own time. So I'm not this politician trying to please vote for me because I have the self-interest agenda. No, I genuinely want to serve my community. Everything that all my gas, all my time, everything that the county has tried to offer me, I tried to reallocate it specifically for my own district, but they wouldn't let me do that. So I give it back to all of Mojave County into the general fund. So I respectfully disagree. I'm not a politician. I'm just a community advocate.
I understand and I feel your pain. That's why I'm up here. I don't need to be doing this, but I'm doing this because I'm tired. I live in rural Arizona. We have acreage. I understand, I completely understand where you're at. I know we heard about some issues regarding zoning in areas and having your work trucks. And my husband has his work trucks in our front yard. We don't live in an HOA because we don't want that. We don't want to be governed. That's why I'm here, because I am frustrated myself. So I'm a business owner. I'm tired of the red tape. I work hard and I want to be able to work as hard as I want and not have to be fighting with the government to work harder. So that I totally agree with you. Again, I'm not a politician, but I'm here as a person. I'm here as you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Don't let them off easy.
They ate and they're tired. Full bellies.
Okay, so if there's no more questions from the audience, any questions from our press, newspapers, radio station? Any questions?
Sure.
He's got his own mic back there.
I keep adding them on, sorry. The same question as was earlier. We have the flock cameras. What is your take, if elected, are you all for or against the flock cameras? And what will you do to try to remove them from our county at least?
Yeah, heck no, they gotta go. Like, they gotta go.
Against it.
Sorry.
But
Since I took that time, sorry. So compounding on that as well, the flock cameras need to go. This is a compounding issue between the data centers, intrusion. You know, I'm not a federal candidate or anything, but I think that the AI data centers, the flock cameras, this is a complete invasion of privacy. The government should stay out of our lane. We can take care of ourselves. We can self-govern. We don't need the government to come watch over us, babysit us. They need to stay out of our way.
Thank you.
Right.
Nothing more to say.
Right, you
Right.
answered it.
You know, I'm not for the flock cameras, and I know what you're talking about. Now, there is a type of camera that I was a cop. We like to have cameras on certain areas so that we could catch bad guys at night. And they were really helpful for burglary issues. But it should just be for us catching bad guys. The government has no business knowing what we're doing. They need to stay out of our lives. And the flock cameras is a totally different thing, and they should be banned from the state of Arizona. Let them take them to some Democratic California state, and they can all fight all over it. Just stay out of our Arizona.
Okay, thank you. We have one more question.
Well, thanks for being here and thanks for running, because that's a tough job. What are your concerns on ESAs, and do you support them? Their empowerment scholarship, it's the school choice.
What's the question?
ESAs.
That's a great.
ESAs.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yes, ESAs. That is a great question, and I do support ESAs. Obviously, we were part of a charter school. Our daughters had the options of different educations. Some students do well in charter schools. Some students do well in public schools. That is one of the reasons why we were co-founders of a charter school, because not all students learn the same. So I support ESAs. And it also, with our school, we're able to give students the opportunity to learn a trade. Trades are very important. So that is, parents know what's best for their students or their children. So I think we need to allow our parents to have that option to put their students where they're going to learn the best. Thank you.
So again, just like the government, it's the parent's choice. If you want to homeschool your child, that is your right, and you should get the same amount of allocation and funding from the government. If you want to go to a charter school, if I could have it my way, I think that simple things, that it's the fact of the matter is that our students are failing, especially with AI. We now have high school students who are graduating. I think there was a Maricopa student who sued the county because he was upset that he used AI during his high school and then was mad that he wasn't successful, couldn't read, couldn't write a paper. So kind of interesting. But if you want to homeschool or charter school or public school, but it's true that the educational system has a completely bloated budget, and we actually have contradicting data that it's not going to our students, just like candidate Governor Neely was saying, is that it's going to 7 administrators and part of it is going to 1 student. So parents have good reason to pull their students out of the public school system into charters, private, homeschooling. I think that we need to return to different types of curriculum. We need students to learn how to budget a checkbook. We need students to start studying not only English but Latin. We need to improve our reading. We need to teach mathematics. And this, the 4-day a week, I believe that school should be 5 days a week. We need to get all these AI computers out of the school systems. The fact that our students can't read, write, or even, create simple paragraphs or structures, it's why we are 48th in the nation, and it's sad. So we need to do better, so I support ESAs.
Okay, go ahead.
I also support ESA. Again, it's a parent's right to choose. I think one of the greater things about the ESA program is if you want your kid to go and take one high school class, whether it's gym or wrestling or if it's algebra, and you want them to go to the school, you have that option and the parents get to control where those funds go. I absolutely support that. I'm the guy that started out in college and dropped out of college and went to trade school and got certified in hydraulics, pneumatics, electronics, and diesel engine repair. So I'm just not sure I know part of the governor's budget, the ESA's changed a little bit, and I'm not sure if it's going to the ballot yet. I haven't followed up on it, but something changed with it, and I hope that they don't take anything from parents. And if they did, I would absolutely support anything to give it right back to them.
Okay, we're going to have your closing remarks. 2 minutes. Why we should vote for you.
Oh, okay, I'll go this time. Long story short is I feel as though, I'm a millennial mom, small business owner, healthcare provider, I'm a nurse, and I truly feel like, and I just like many of the voters in here, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed. I feel sorry for my children, and I worry about them, and I don't think that, if we get our republic and our democracy, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or, it's really about being just a common sense, integrity, human being, okay? All these policy labels that we keep getting wrapped into when really it's just about doing the right thing. As a small business owner, I don't ever want any of my clients or my patients to feel like they can't come to me or they're gonna get some kind of different service because I have an R on my forehead. It's not true. Like, you're a person, and I respect the fact that we can have a civil discussion, and the idea is that I'm supposed to prove to you why my beliefs and my values are going to prove superior in the end. And if I can't do that, then I shouldn't be your representative. But I'm Caroline Strecker, and I hope to be your next state representative.
Okay, thank you.
Other than fighting for water to try and make sure our rights are protected, you guys are trying to figure out, who am I? What kind of person would I actually be? So other than water, some of the other things that I've tried to work on is, this is in a study group right now. We try to get it passed. It came into all kinds of problems. I'm a retired police officer, so I'm all cop. We had a bill that was coming through where Polaris wanted to raise the weight limits of side-by-sides. I opposed it. Not that I don't want them to have it, but I want some to come back to us because they go out and they tear everything up. There's 1% that do it. So we put a bill together that they want to raise the weight limits so that they don't have to pay the EPA standards. We wanted something in return. And if this study group comes back the way it's supposed to this year, we'll get between maybe 3 and 5 deputies paid for by industry to go to all 15 counties at no cost to you to work for our sheriff's office to make our communities safer. That's the person that I am, and I will continue to do that type of stuff and fight. All it takes is a phone call to spark an interest, and I'll grow it. Thank you. Come July 21st, Mike Ganuccio for LD30.
Thank you again for all being here. But when we started, I gave you guys my resume. Our resume should speak for ourselves. That is something that is so important. I'm going to fight for us. I've always been fighting for my family, for my home, for my community. I've been giving back to my community way before this campaign started. I'm fiscally responsible. Obviously, being a business owner for 20 plus years shows that. Our biggest thing being at the Capitol is balancing the budget and making sure that we get our fair share in rural Arizona, making sure we receive the monies that we need for infrastructure. I will make sure that I do the job that we need to do, and that is balancing our budget, getting our fair share of our monies that we work hard for. So I'm Catherine Lopez Rajnimi. I'm running for Arizona House of Representative LD30. Thank you guys. God bless you all.
Okay, thank you very much for coming down here and visiting with us in Quartzsite. Okay, next I'd like to get our county level candidates up here.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Those of you who were here last time know I'm John Hoagie. I am the current La Paz County Constable, leading to the surprised expression on everybody's face. La Paz County has a constable? Yes. One of the things that I do is I work with landlords, actually, and essentially because they're the ones usually wanting people evicted. I work with the court, make sure the paperwork is right, and I either find the person or I don't find the person. I tell the court I did or didn't find the person. Been doing it for 4 years, and I would like to continue doing it for 4 years, and I need your vote. And by the way, I'm running unopposed.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Carrie Ann Noltner. I am the current appointed assessor, and I'm running unopposed. I I've been in front of all of you several times over the last month or so, and it's been a privilege to do so. I will say if you have questions about your property, your value, any of those things, please come see me in the assessor's office. I love having you come spend time with me. My goals are to share the knowledge that I've gained in this position to help you make choices that are informed about your properties, to help you in any way that I can. That's why I got into this position, was that I could give back in a meaningful way, and that's part of it. The second part is to spread that valuation out the way that it should be, so that everybody's paying only the part of their membership fee that is theirs and not somebody else's. So that's some work that's going to take me a couple of years to do, but I'm dedicated to do that. I think it's important. And if you have questions, I will still be here, or come see me in the office. I'm Carrie Ann Noltner, your county assessor.
I feel like I'm a short kid right now. I stand at this big old microphone. I'm Lonnie Lewis. I am your current appointed La Paz County Superintendent of Schools. The funny, I had to giggle a little bit because I thought about it for a second. I go, out of all the people that are here today, these three, us three, are guaranteed winners because we're all running unopposed. So you're welcome.
Saves on the campaign
It
costs.
saves all the campaign costs and everything else. But we are all the three winners right now. I did speak with some of you guys on the last time I was here. I know a lot of the issues when it comes to the schools here that we've discussed. I've had a lot of side conversations. One of the things I got to tell you is all politics aside, again, it's about our kids, and that's why I'm here. And out of anybody that's been in here, we hear a lot about education. We hear a lot of, everybody steps in, and the first thing politicians like to talk about is education. I'm going to do this for education. This is what this is. This is what this is. My question is, how many of them have been educators? I'm an educator. I actually was an educator. I've 9 years. I was a teacher. I've been an administrator for 2 years. Then I came into the county seat, administrator for 4 years. Then I came into the county seat as this county superintendent. I go to my schools. I know every single one of the superintendents that are here in this county. I know every one of my teachers. I know most of my students, that aren't even kids that go to my school. That's what it means to be about education. That's what it means to actually be involved. Unfortunately, I believe in the public education system. I was a product of the public education system. I feel like I turned out pretty well. So I just like to say, maybe it's not about trying to take away from these things. It's about improving what we already have. And that's what I'm here to do. In La Paz County, we are going to continue driving forward to make sure that our kids are the smartest kids in the state of Arizona. We're going to make sure that La Paz County stands out amongst everybody else. Why? Because we're going to insert programs that help the kids in the schools. It's not about right, it's not about left, it's not about anything else. It's about making sure that each student gets the best education possible by all means possible. And that can happen whether it's a public school, private school, charter school, or whatever it might be. It's about focusing on the real issue, and that's about bringing education to the students. So that's why I'm here, and I continue to want to build your trust, earn your trust, because I plan on being in this seat for as long as it takes to make sure that, again, we become the best and the smartest county in county in the state of Arizona. Lonnie Lewis, again, for your county superintendent.
All right, thank you, Lonnie. Okay, so a few rules for the questions. Please state your name and then who the question's directed towards. John, Carrie Ann, or Lonnie. Who wants to go first? Mike, you don't have a question?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. I have a question over here.
Can you have the constable lose my address?
Now, why would you want that?
Trudy Sherburne, and this question is for Lonnie. There's been a lot of concerns about the school board here, that a lot of the problems we've had in the schools has been attributed to the school board, for right or wrong. But what influence do you have on the school board? How can you work with the school board to make sure that we have better education here?
Thank you. I appreciate your question. And I do understand that. I mean, I've talked a little bit about this today with a few people actually about your school board and about your governing board. One of the things I got to tell you is, and this is most importantly, if something has not been going well for a certain amount of time, and there's people that are making those decisions that you feel aren't giving the best choice and not doing the best job, then somebody needs to step up and take that job from them. There's an election going on, not just with our county officials, but the school boards right now. Your governing board is up for election. Every member, except for 2, are up for election right now on your governing board. My question would be, if there's really a strong concern about people that are on that board, take their spots, run against them, make the change. You know, the governing board does control the financial obligations of the district. They are the ones that control what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. They put in place the policies. My influence over them is when one does go and that seat isn't elected, I appoint the next person in that position. That's where I can have a little bit more of a direct impact. However, my job right now, and what I've been doing, especially with your governing board right now, is I'm bringing options to the table. And that's what I want to do, is I want to continue bringing them options, so that way, rather they keep shooting them down or they don't shoot them down, whatever they accept, they accept. If they don't, at least I'm bringing those doors and I'm opening up, I'm building bridges for them. Now, they can choose to walk across it or not. The big part of it is all that stuff's going to be exposed at some point in time. And if the governing board's not willing to step into it and do what they need to do, then we're going to continue making sure, and my job is going to continue making sure that the superintendent of the school is getting the resources that I find and I can get from the county and giving it straight to her and saying, here's the resources that you have, here's what you can do, this is coming from the county, it doesn't have to go through your governing board, make it happen. And that's what I want to try to do. And I want to work with your governing board, and there's good people on there, and there's some hard-headed people on there, you know, but unfortunately, you know, the time is going to come for change. And if you want that change, somebody needs to step in there and run against those people that you feel are no longer capable of doing the job.
Okay, we have a question over here.
Melody Chatelier. My question is for Lonnie.
I knew the schools was going to get it good today.
What is it going to take for Quartzsite to open up school that we have spent $2 million on?
That's exactly, and I know
together.
It's going to take that governing board that we just talked about to make the decision to move forward with opportunities that are being presented to them. I can tell you right now, and I know that's a big concern, and it has been a big concern about this community with that school that's been closed for such a long time. When I came into this position, that was one of the biggest things that I looked at. That was something that was brought to my table immediately. What are you going to do about Quartzsite Elementary School? Are you going to open it up? How can you do it? I personally can't open it because the governing board, again, has oversight on what they're going to do with their finances. However, I have been looking at their opportunities and bringing other stakeholders to the table that can get that school in a position where they can either open it up as a Head Start program working with WACOG, and that's a beginning step to get somebody in there. I've also been looking at trying to align with our Sheriff's Department, probation departments, everybody else that's around here in La Paz County, networking together to get that facility open, so that way it's a use to our youth through youth programs, through incentive programs, different things that campus can be. Right now, our biggest point is trying to get that place open to the fact that we get a couple seats, a couple people in that school, to where we can start rolling forward with it. And once we get the doors open, then we can start rolling forward a little bit better. And then the other thing that's going to really come down to it is population. You know, we don't have a big population to be in both schools at this time. It can happen, there's opportunity there, but we have 2 other schools here right now that are taking a lot of those students away.
Well, how long do you think it would take? Because if we're planning on this in this town, how long would it take you? Because in this town, at the board meetings, we're talking about infrastructure and workforce and these new big ideas that the town council has. And we're talking about housing, we're talking about families with children and possibly new babies. Hopefully our census goes up.
Yep.
Hopefully we have more children so we can start 4-H club in Quartzsite. And so how long do you think it would take for us to do this?
There's 2 answers to that. The real solid answer to that, honestly, is if you wanted that school to open right now, you took all the students away and put them into Quartzsite, into Ehrenberg, you'd have 2 years. You have to go through a 2-year program to make sure that that show the population growth, and that would show the attendance that there's a need for another school. That would be one way we can open it up. But you'd have to get the kids that are currently going to the two private schools here to all go to that school. And then they would be able to justify opening up another school by numbers wise. The other answer to that question is, I'm actually on the executive board for WACOG. I've already got the ball rolling to try to open up a Head Start program for this campus. So my real answer to that is, as soon as I can convince 3 members on that governing board to let me move forward and bring, an opportunity to that school, and for them to finally agree and allow me to do so, as soon as that happens, we'll have that school open. So we're just waiting. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Way over there, Linda. This is like singing back in 1978. Here you go.
To add on to Melody's comment, you mentioned 2 years of everybody going to Ehrenberg. Why can't be 2 years everybody coming to Quartzsite? We have a school that is in excellent condition. We spent the state spent over $6 million rehabbing that school. It's ready. So why can't we just do the flip-flop? We have all these students going to these 2 other schools. They're here. We know we've got 40 plus kids that are being homeschooled or no-schooled in Quartzsite. We've been working on this for several years. Yeah. Our biggest issue has been getting the state to realize what our problem is.
Right, I understand that. So you made a good statement right there. You mentioned that you have 40 kids that are in homeschool or maybe not going to school, what it might be, right? So in order for them to open that school, for the governing board to justify and be able to open that school, they have to show that there is an actual attendance for that school. So right now there's 0 attendance. You have everybody going to a private school or being homeschooled that isn't going to Ehrenberg right now. So that's where the numbers fluctuate. So being able to enroll those students into Ehrenberg then puts those numbers up to where they can say, okay, now we can justify opening up a secondary school for the people here in Quartzsite. There's another way to that is, what's it really going to take? It takes a strong governing board to say, let's do it. Let's make it happen. And I can't make excuses for what they're doing, and I can't change what their views are and how they're going to do things. All I continue to do is fight to make sure that I can try to get this school open some way or another. And that's why I mentioned about bringing in at least the Head Start program, because I at least looked at it and I said, if I can bring Head Start into this school, that's a start. That's at least getting pre-K kids into this school where we got something growing, and then we can start opening those doors. And now maybe that pre-K goes into, well, maybe we can get a couple first grade teachers over here, and now we have a first grade program. And then we go into a second grade program and continue moving up the ladder until eventually we filled every seat in that school by their grade level. Does that make sense to you? So that's what I'm trying to make sure we can happen to do. And I know I get the frustration in it. I understand we want that school open tomorrow. And I know the money that got dumped into it, but I am glad that you mentioned it was a state fund. It was actually a state grant that paid for that the revamping of the school. Because it wasn't just Quartzsite that got that grant. There was all those rural schools in Arizona got that same grant and got revamped. That should have happened then, and unfortunately it didn't. But what we can do, we can't change what's happened in the past, and we can't change what's going on right now, we can't change what's going on in the past, but all we can do is try to keep continuing to move forward. And at this point right now, for me being in here, I'm gonna continue to try to move forward, and a priority, which I know is for you guys here, is to get that school open. I'm gonna do what I can to help you guys get that done.
Okay, we have a follow-up question.
We have these solar projects, and we're wonderful for La Paz County. There are a lot of families that have kids that are living in RVs or trailers because the folks move from job to job. They've got kids. They won't put their kids on a bus to go into Ehrenberg. Interstate 10, there's wrecks every day. They only have one vehicle, so the concern is if Johnny gets hurt or doesn't feel well, mom is in Quartzsite or out in Baus even, and they can't get to the school.
Right.
I mentioned Baus because a lot of our workers actually stay in Brenda so that they can go to Baus schools.
Right.
We were talking about population. We know we're going to have another influx of families with the additional solar that's coming into the county.
No, and you're right. And the solar companies have been doing pretty good about throwing incentives and grants towards the schools right now. You know, and I understand. I understand this frustration of wanting to, not wanting to transport kids, from here to Ehrenberg. And again, I believe it's about 19 miles from here to Ehrenberg, right? And I don't want to downplay that in any sense or change, that idea. And I get that the traveling on the Interstate 10 and everything like that. But at the same time, we also have to remember that every kid that goes here, when they get done with grade school and elementary school, where do they go? Siloam or Parker, which is over 30, 40 miles away, right? There's only 2 high schools in this county. So rather a student lives here and they go 15 miles. I live in Parker area, right? But I'm up in Buxton. I'm up by the dam. My kids are 15 miles away from Parker Unified School District. I have to drive them 15 miles to get them to school every day because that's the only school available. Part of living in a rural community, and I don't want to, it's kind of like calling the baby ugly in a sense, but part of living in a rural community, that's what we have to deal with. Sometimes schools aren't right next door to us. You know what I mean? Our kids don't get that opportunity unless you live right in the center, like I say in Parker, where everything's right there. Your kids are going to travel, and you can think about the same thing again with Baus, with Winden, everybody in the rural areas. We all have to travel to either 1 or 2 high schools. So in the grade school level, I understand that, and we want to open this school, and I keep trying again to open those opportunities, and I'm going to keep pushing those opportunities to get those doors open. But in the meantime, we have to deal with what we have. And what I mean by that is if we're worried about the traveling, the distance, we have to also keep in mind and remember that eventually those kids, once they get to the high school level, are going to have to travel again and going to continue to move out, travel out to Siloam, or they're going to have to travel out to Parker to go to high school, or they're going to have to travel out to Blythe to go to high school, right? And that's what a lot of kids do from here is they go to Blythe as well, right? So...
Or they can go across town to Ed Options. But we have a question over here.
You're welcome, Al. Now I feel like the other candidates, man, like they were getting...
Lauren, you have to understand, when you say that you live up there by the dam, it's a straightaway, okay?
Yeah.
This is probably one of the worst areas on the I-10 where there's semi-trucks that are back-to-back crashes.
Yeah.
I mean, we lost an officer by a truck that got killed. This is the worst treacherous part of getting from Ehrenberg to Quartzsite.
Right.
A lot of these parents don't have the means to drive their own child. If they were my children, I'd be driving them every single day. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of helicopter parent that I am. But straightaways to Baus or to Brenda, those are straightaways. This is a horrible section right here, and they should probably reconsider.
And that could be something looking at when you come to the county as far as what are we doing for our public safety and talking to DPS and saying how do we open up that highway to make it more safe. And in that same respect though too, I understand that, and it is a dangerous highway, and I don't want to see any kids have to travel that far to go to school. But again, out here in La Paz County, even going down the 95 or going down the 73 or 72, any of those ones, how many deaths are on that highway every day? You know, I mean, honestly, talk to the sheriff's department, see how many accidents are on those highways. We just had a tragic highway, it was less than 2 months ago. We had a tragic crash right here going north from here to Parker that killed 5 people. You know, I mean, like it happens on our highways. We live in rural areas, and I understand that, and that's even a better reason why we should have schools in all of our local areas, and like especially in each one of our towns. And I see Quartzsite as being a big town, big enough to be able to provide a school, to be able to open a school. The question is, how are we going to continue to get that open? And the only way to do so is standing like what I'm doing right here and continue to try to bring meat and water to the table and say eat and drink. But if somebody doesn't want to eat and drink, I can't force it down their throat. And at some point, maybe I might have to, and I'm gonna have to figure out a way to do so. But I mean, I've been in this office for 6 months, and I think at this 6 months, I've been knocking enough doors that Give me 6 more and we'll figure it out. Thank you.
Okay, that reminds me of a story. For those of you that were around here in 1980, I was in 2nd grade, and they hauled us over to Ehrenberg. And the Ehrenberg school was recently built because there was a large housing development of families that were building I-10 and the El Paso gas line. So that's why the school that was originally here in Quartzsite moved over to Ehrenberg. Well, anyhow, one day we're going back and forth on the freeway, and we had a student that they lived off on Dome Rock Road, and the bus broke down. And this was in late September. It was still really hot, and nobody knew that the bus broke down because nobody had cell phones back then or any of that stuff. And I remember my little sister, she was in preschool, and she was getting overcome by the heat. And I remember taking her up, and you can only get away with this back in like the late 70s, early 80s, but somebody in a random Camaro who knew somebody grabbed all the little kids, put them in the back, took them into town so they get back into well, we didn't have air conditioning, but we had swamp coolers back then. And then told, hey, the bus is broken down, let's go get the kids and bring them back. So this is not a new issue about traveling back and forth on I-10. This has been an issue at least since, little 7th grade or 2nd grade Philip Cushman, trying to get his sister to safety.
And that was many, many moons ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. So, but I do have a question. This kind of goes for both the assessor and the superintendent. Is when you look at Quartzsite and Ehrenberg, most of where does the tax revenue that supports the school district comes from? Quartzsite. Is it appropriate to have resources go in a less populated area? And then you look over at Wendon and Siloam, you have 3 school districts over there. They seem to get away with things that could possibly be a better solution here. How come they can do it and we can't?
You're gonna love my answer to this one. Again, your governing board. You gotta work with that governing board. I went to one of the, when I first took this office, I went around and saw, and my first objective was to talk to every superintendent and sit down in at least 1 to 2 governing board sessions for each school district. Because I wanted to see how they operated. I wanted to see what they were talking about. I wanted to see what their issues were. I wanted to see what the attendance was in there. And when I went to the Quartzsite one, there was a few people in there, but it was small enough to fit a classroom where we only had maybe 8 seats, right? I think, and I would suggest that all these validated points, and you make a great point with that. I see this as being a bigger town, obviously, than Ehrenberg, and I don't understand, before my time, why the school moved in the first place, why didn't it stay here, why these doors got shut. It's easier to start off, to have a school and start opening a school the first time and have it going than to shut it down and try to reopen it. That's a hard process to try to get through. But with that being said, I think one of the things that we really need to do here, and I'm pushing it from my end, but if everybody in this room right now is seriously concerned about what they're doing and what actions they're taking and why this isn't happening, go to the governing board meeting. Go in in full force that you have right now, sit down and make those demands. Tell them we're done with it. This is what we want. This is what's going to happen. We need our school to be open, and continue to fight that fight. You can't just fight it once and say something and walk away. It takes a village, right? So this is your village right now. If you want that school to open, then go in there and force them to make sure that they do what you're asking them to do. Step in there, bug them every day. Make that possible, and let them know, hey, we know that there's opportunities there. We've seen the superintendent. We've talked to the county superintendent. My cards are right over there too, and I've told everybody else, you can call me anytime. You can walk into my office and talk to me about issues. Some of you have. And you'll see that I am a person of action. I take action on those things, and I continue to move forward on it. If you want this school to be open, I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to fight for it, and I'm going to try to keep opening those opportunities. I'm asking you guys to do your part and step in there and talk to your school board, talk to your governing board, and tell them we want this to happen, and let's make it happen.
Okay, I think it's probably good we stop there. We've been going at it for 1 hour and 10 minutes. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll reconvene back here. All right, thank you very much for these candidates. Again, They're running unopposed. They didn't have to come down here, but we really appreciate them coming to Quartzsite. Thank you, Lonnie. We're going to get started now with our two opposing candidates for Superior Court. And we're going to keep it open so that you can ask them questions. They can ask questions to each other. And again, this is not a formal debate, but your policies, your platforms, those are open game. But let's try to keep it nice and polite. Okay, so we'll start. And we're going to do this about 5 minutes, and then we're going to get to the town council. Okay, go ahead.
Ready? Okay. My name's Anita Dale. I'm running for Superior Court Judge. Yes, I still have laryngitis. I really appreciate everybody that's been checking on me. Thank you. There will be a day. It's coming. Just not today. Okay. So when I was laughing when I can't think of her name. Anyways, I'm a huge proponent of recovery courts. I want to bring back the Veterans Court to this area, to La Paz. If I'm elected, that'll be a goal of mine to bring it back. It is so important. I've seen miracles in recovery courts. I work in recovery courts every single week. So this is something I see on a daily basis. I was speaking with Lonnie about it. He has the veteran connections. I have the mental health and the connections with other courts in the area in Mojave County that I can draw people from. So I think we can make this happen. Also, I'm an attorney here throughout Mojave County, La Paz County, and wherever my clients wind up. They give me a call, I go. So I'm well-versed in this area, well-versed in Mojave County. I've been doing this over 10 years now. I do defense, I do prosecution, I do civil, family law, child welfare, juvenile dependencies, juvenile delinquencies. I come from being a police officer. I come from Child Protective Services. I've done drug and alcohol counseling. I've driven motorcycles for a living. That was cool. I drove truck for a while. The only reason that that's important, I even worked Renaissance fairs, believe it or not. I ran away and joined a circus. It made it so that nobody comes before me that I don't have a connection with, and then I treat everybody the same. I have had to learn how to accept people where they are and how they come to me. I look at the bench as needing integrity, needing understanding, needing compassion, and needing to treat people like human beings, not just because they're there or not because I have to tolerate them, but because this is their life, this is important. So I'm asking you to vote for me.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Thomas.
Well, hello, everybody. My name's Thomas Dorsey. I'm also running for Superior Court Judge. You know, me and Anita are both running Republican, and there's not that much differences between us, I don't think, but perhaps we'll find out later tonight. As far as the recovery courts are concerned, I'm a supporter of that. I got to experience that when I was working in legal aid, mostly. I have had some experience with it in my work here in La Paz County as a line prosecutor. It seems like at the beginning of my 4-year employment with La Paz County Attorney's Office, we did have a few sessions of the Veterans Court when I first signed on. It hasn't been continued, unfortunately, but that is something I would like to work on because I've seen the effects of doing that and giving people a chance to reform and not be overly burdened with punishment in that sense. So it's something I also support, but I also want to come back to the fact that, you know, as individuals, we all believe in personal responsibility, and that's one of the things that basically kept me in the Republican Party, I suppose, is that emphasis on personal responsibility. And I also am a strict constitutionalist in the image of Antonin Scalia. I talked about this last time, but I had the opportunity to take a class where he was a lecturer one summer, and that was probably the best that was probably the best law school semester of my law school career. Beat the first semester by a ton, let me tell you. But I view the role of the judge, similarly, you have to be fair to everyone that comes before you. I'm not going to do a politics check on anybody that comes into the court, and I don't think that any person should be discriminated against just because of their background or their appearance or whatnot. But if the prosecutor's office does its part and manages to convince a jury that an individual is guilty, then the sentencing range that the legislature, your voice in government, has provided in the Arizona revised statutes is what's going to prevail. I'm not going to make up the law. It's not going to be Dorsey's law in the court. It's going to be Arizona state law. So I just want you to be aware that strict constitutionalist, black letter writing of the law, what that means, and we're not going to get very creative about that. And I'm not what they call an advocate judge. So I don't think judges make the law, the legislature makes the law, the governor is supposed to enforce the law, and the judge upholds the law, determines what it is, and applies in criminal cases sentence, according to what the legislature has laid down. So that's where I'm at with that. Thank you.
Okay, who has our first question? There we go, Mike. Always count on Mike for a question.
I don't know what can be done with the tyranny in the lower courts. What can we do? We've got nepotism, we've got judges, that don't even understand the law. I mean, these are administrative courts, and they have ruined, they haven't destroyed me, but they've wiped out my asset, they've stolen my property. What can be done other than an appeal? Okay, and some of you may know about my situation, and you'll probably recuse yourself. And what can be done? I mean, other than vote the bums out. But what do you do when there is no constitution in the lower courts? Is that when the Second Amendment comes in?
No, it's a valid question. Because you are talking about judges that have no legal experience. Right. They have no legal responsibility to the Arizona State Bar that we have. They have little to no responsibility to the administrative office of the courts. And I get it. And I would actually say that some of that would be your attorney general. If they're acting inappropriately, you have them investigated. The problem with the Superior Court judge is that's not our job. Well, I can sympathize with you 100%, okay? I get it. But in our position, supposedly justice is blind. So in our position, it would have to be blind. I can't choose one side or the other. But I would strongly suggest you work with your attorney general, like we heard earlier. That's his job. Work with your attorney general, because the cases that they investigate, especially in this county, could come before me if I was judge. And I would have to make those decisions. So I can't be involved in it and be able to make those decisions. And I know that's not the best answer, and I'm sorry. But that is an answer, but that's where I would go. And the Second Amendment, please don't do something that's going to end up with you in front of me.
It'll be somebody else. I mean, that's what they're pushing for in this country.
And I understand. Believe me, I understand, because I get that way too. And then I have to stop and think where that's going to lead me. okay? And I'm the best defense attorney I know, so I'd be screwed.
I'll just echo Anita's comments because, as I said before, we're probably going to agree on a lot. But role of judge, unlike the legislative people that you heard of who are advocating or something, we would have to remain neutral. I would have to take a step back from my old role because currently I am a prosecutor and I've been a deputy county attorney for just over 4 years now. And I would have to enter this role neutral. I can't favor my old colleagues at all. And I don't have any of the information they have, and for the most part, guilt or innocence is going to turn on a jury. I don't remember the last time there was a bench trial in criminal in Superior Court, or if there has been one recently. The defendant could always choose that, but why they would, I just don't know.
There's reasons.
I mean, there's other decisions that need to be made by judges, like will evidence come in at suppression hearings and that nature, and I'm going to have to be neutral on that as well. So any case or controversy, whether it's criminal, civil, or domestic relations, we expect our judges to not prejudge the matter. And I think I've got a good background for not prejudging matters, in as much as I have an anthropology background. And, you know, there is a cultural relativism that I bring to the position.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, and hope you have a speedy recovery with your laryngitis. So, few ground rules, okay? Policy, platform, voting record, that's all fair game. Let's try to keep this nice because we all have to live with each other, you know, in our small town. So we'll just go ahead and start with a quick introduction of everybody. We'll start with, is Gary connected? We'll let Gary go first since he hasn't had a chance to talk yet.
All right, Gary, can you repeat it again for Gary?
Gary, introduce yourself and why you're running, or why you're running for re-election.
All right, I'm Gary Anzonza, and I guess I should start off by explaining why I am not there tonight. We had planned at the beginning of the year, actually in last year, to be up here in the Pacific Northwest. We're celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary. My brother's getting married. We're scheduled to preach here, family reunions, and several family functions. It was some time later that we found out they were changing the election from the August to July. Otherwise, this would not have been an issue. So that's why I'm not there. The reason I'm running for town council is that I feel that I've got something that I could add and help this town. I'm very proud of Quartzsite. I do everything I can to help promote Quartzsite. I also am on the several committees, one of them being the Regional Council of Aging. I'm on Civic Craft. That's where I meet with over 30 other municipality members of town councils and mayors. Once a month, we get to discuss issues that they're having and possible solutions. And I'm running because I really think that I can help continue to add to this town.
Okay, thank you, Gary. So a quick statement from each of our candidates. We'll start with you, Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Bolden. Most of you know me. I've lived here almost 8 years. I was just traveling the country and kind of landed here because God put me here. I wasn't quite sure why, but I have grown to love this place, and I'm only running for town council because I desperately, for the last few years, looked for some good candidates, and someone challenged me at the John Birch Society to, if you can't find the candidate, be the candidate. So I have decided to step up and represent the community in the best way that I can. I have always tried to help people. I've always tried to help people to get through their difficulties, and whether it be the difficulty through suffering from a lot of pain to, you know, holding on to old belief systems that they just can't get past and begin to thrive. And I want to spread that into our community and help our community to begin to thrive.
All right, thank you.
My name is Melody Chatelier. I'm a candidate for town council. I'm running for the town of Quartzsite. My platform stays the same: safety and the cleanliness, cleaning up Quartzsite. If you see something, say something. There are hotlines that you can call for help for child abuse, elder abuse, sexual abuse, and animal abuse. I am not an authoritarian. Thank you.
Okay, Linda?
Good evening, and thank you all for sticking around. I am Linda Goldberg. I have been in Quartzsite for many, many years. We had a tourism company in Southern California. I worked for the Metropolitan Water District for many years. And while I took some time off and used to come over and do the big tent shows representing the city of Hemet, San Jacinto, Riverside County, and kind of fell in love with our community. We bought a home, built a home. In 2018, I found out that the town of Quartzsite had a large grant to update our wastewater treatment plant. However, they could not get a full vote on the town council. They needed one more person. They had lost by death one of the council members. Anyway, I applied, I was appointed. We got the wastewater treatment grant and did the necessary upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant. I've been involved in tourism for many, many years. I am the chair of your La Paz Regional Tourism Council. By the way, in about 4 years ago, through Arizona Department of Tourism, we got a grant with the tourism team, and that grant allowed us to put lights on the billboard that's on Interstate 10 and put the face that's on it now. 10 years ago, a couple of us got together and realized that there was a need for people to get together and talk in Quartzsite. We started a ladies' luncheon, supposed to be just during the summer. Well, we just celebrated 10 years. So it gives a place for ladies to go once a month. We're not a club, we're not an organization, we don't do politics, and we don't do religion. But it's a place for people to go, ladies to go, and just share information. I'm also very, very involved in our Quartzsite Women's Club. When another council member and I were approached, there were 3 members left on the Quartzsite Women's Club. Since then, we have built that women's club up. We have done fundraisers. We support our 4-H club. And we were just sharing, we do have a 4-H in Quartzsite, and we do, our council overruled the Planning and Zoning Commission at one time that wanted to not allow bunnies and guinea pigs, but we do allow animals, just not pigs and cows in Quartzsite. The Women's Club also supports our Girl Scout. I don't really need this anyway. Our Girl Scouts, our Boy Scouts, our 4-H. We do a couple of fundraisers every year through the Women's Club. And by the way, we have started our scholarship fund back up through our fundraising. And this year we were able to contribute to 4 young people, not big amounts, but a little bit of money to help them with their college. We do have 2 major success stories, one of them being a young lady who needed some funds to go through an EMT class. We were able to help her. She has now gone into, I know Dennis is she is now in nursing school. We have another one that we were able to help with some funding for an electrical trade program. And he now is working with his dad as part owner of a trade, of an electrical company, sadly not in Quartzsite, but the Women's Club was able to help.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to let the candidates ask the first question amongst themselves. So who would like to ask the first question? Gary? Okay.
You're asking me to ask a question of all the candidates, or
Yes,
one in particular? What's the guideline here? I just want to make sure
you can ask any question you want as long as it's related to policy, voting record, and keep it civil.
One of the things I've heard and overheard is the fact that we need change. I'm not for change's sake, but looking for what we can do to make improvements, because yes, there are things in the town that needs to be changed. So my question would be, what is the one thing that you believe needs to be changed, and what plan do you have specifically to meet that need?
Go ahead, Lisa. And you got to answer your own question for yourself too.
I think the biggest change that I would like to see is full transparency in our government and our elected officials. I feel like most people in town do not feel like they're being heard, and that it's very difficult to know what's really going on. And my plan is to be completely transparent, and if you want to have a conversation about what's going on in the town council, we'll have a conversation about what's going on. If there is something that is going to be passed on to the people and they're not given much of a voice, how is that for the people? And I would strongly encourage going back to town hall meetings where you just come talk to us and just have a conversation. And if we can't win you over, then we vote against it.
I agree with Lisa. We should start up a monthly residents meeting so that we can discuss things that we want to bring to the board, that we can sit there, or we can talk to them and for that 3 minutes of conversation. But we can have the answers ourselves, get answers from the board. That's what I would like to see. That's where I would like to see change. One of the things that I would really like to see is more businesses here. I would like to see what I spoke to earlier with the school and superintendent, that if we're planning on developing a travel center, a housing, affordable housing, a workplace force, new. We already mentioned the 4-H club. And the schools is a big issue that I think that we should all discuss, and that we should all have some kind of insight and say in it, because it all trickles down. If you ask me, it all comes down to if we can do something that's moderate, not huge, that I think that we can all get along better, because we would have more access into our say in what we want to have happen to our community. I think that one of my biggest things, if I were to get voted to this seat, okay, and I know that people are relooking, like I have heard that some people are rethinking their votes, okay? Now, if you can get your candidate or your town council members to join the conversation of what the issues that we can possibly settle before taking it to the board, and then we can all agree upon something, I think that we would all be happy campers. I really would be the first thing that I would do is I would advocate for a 5-day workday, period.
Okay, Linda, your turn.
I would say getting people to engage. I think that's one of our biggest problems is, you know, we heard tonight about the school board. We've had other boards that we've had vacancies on for months. When you try to get volunteers for projects, and again, the school, and that's a perfect place to start. I can tell you, for instance, this morning, I was at the summer youth program. The Women's Club brought the Phoenix Science Center out to do a program. I didn't see anybody else. That when the graduation, the school graduations, and yes, they're kids, but the parents see too that there's community, that community spirit. And that's what we really need to continue. I mean, we've got a good one here in town, but we need to continue to build that kind of openness, being able to talk. My personal cell number is on my business card, so I'm available to talk.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Now, Gary, you got to answer your question. What would you change?
Okay, first of all, I just want to address a couple things there. Just letting you know, one of the things that was brought up is being heard. All of us on council have email addresses. You can go to the town website and find those. Mine is Gary.Insunza, ENSUNSA @quartzsite.org. One of the other things that was brought up was more businesses. I was asked to speak at the Chamber of Commerce and did on ways that the Chamber of Commerce can help bring more businesses to town. I visited places like Bisbee and Cottonwood to see how they've rebuilt their towns, to see if that was feasible for us. You'll also find me at every event that we have a town booth, whether that be the fair or the expo or, you know, the fall festival, Connor Days. You will see me at all those town booths. They're answering questions that people have. We are open, or I am open to hearing anything and trying to get that information out to you. The number one issue that I'm facing right now and have been working on for some time is there are those in the community who would like there not to be any RVs here anymore. It seems that way. And what I'm talking about is there was part of the code was that no one could have an RV on their business property, not even for those doing the groundskeeping. So we dealt with that one and got that one addressed. The other thing that we're looking at too is changing part of the code on our current RV status in RV parks. Now, this is not just for snowbirds. This is for people who are living in those RV parks. Right now, with the regulations on the books, and I know of more than one person who thinks they should all be addressed, that they should be held to the maximum, and you must follow those codes, would eliminate the vast majority of RV parks in our town because they couldn't afford to make those changes. I brought that openly. We've talked about that at council meetings. I'm on record as saying that I don't see why some people are afraid to see RVs in Quartzsite. You cannot come into any area of Quartzsite and not see an RV long before you get to where the parks are at. I am all for all the things that amount to safety, but the cosmetics, those we're going to have to do very carefully and very slowly so that it can be absorbed so that we don't have people displaced. So that's one of the big issues I am working on that affects both the snowbirds and the people who live here is the regulations on our RV parks, and that's an ongoing.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Who would like to ask the second question? Linda, go ahead.
Okay, the second question would be, you know, I hear we want the change. Give me the top priority of the top plan that you would do for that change that you've mentioned.
Okay, go ahead.
5 days a week. I think 4 days gives the employees too much time. When it starts hitting the high temperatures in the day, they're not working, they're driving around, they're using fuel, they're using the vehicles, That's where we come into money, where we have to replace vehicles. We have a storage area over there that has vehicles that are, steal from Peter to pay Paul, parts and such. And I think that it's a big deal, They don't have enough work to do when it's a 10-hour workday. 5 days a week, they can hit that morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, nice and fresh, and get what they have to get done.
Okay, thank you. Lisa, you're next.
So, I guess to directly answer the question, if I want transparency, I would definitely be open to having meetings and speaking to the community about what's going on and having transparency about what Melody was talking about, the 5-day work week. I think that just kind of should go without saying, like they have this Thursday off. And then because they already have Friday off, now they have Thursday off. And Thursday's a 10-hour workday. It's not an 8-hour workday. Are we paying them for 10 hours?
Yeah.
Probably.
Because they work 40
And
hours
so
a week.
now we've paid them for a 30-hour work week. And that makes no sense. I also think, a big thing that we've talked about a lot tonight was town codes. And I think a lot, adopting some other towns' codes and just enforcing those codes, because those are the codes that we can choose to enforce because we don't like you. I think that we have to take a serious look at all the codes and throw most of them out.
Okay, thank you. Gary?
I had already mentioned one of that, and that's the RV. As far as the joining in conversations, I'm there at the town booths all the time. I've been to several of the We the People meetings. I'm willing to meet with anybody, anywhere, anytime to talk about what this town needs. I go around and I ask people, what would you like to see? What would you like to see happen? Also, wherever I go, outside of Quartzsite, telling people what a wonderful place Quartzsite actually is. Not bringing up all the problems that it has, because there are problems that Quartzsite does have, I must admit that. But talking about those assets that we have here in Quartzsite that would draw people here. One of the biggest problems, I think, overall, and it's a tough problem, it is the three-legged stool. Now, what I mean by the three-legged stool is we need jobs, we need people, and we need housing. And it's hard to balance on just one of those legs and make it work. Currently, we are in the process of finalizing the opportunity zone, which gives solid tax incentives for those who want to build. There are those who've come in and asked us if we've been an opportunity zone, and we've not been able to say yes. We will be able to now, and that may bring in more housing. One of the other assets that we have that just recently happened, we went from an average internet service to a very reliable internet service. So those who are working remotely, this may be a great opportunity to help build a community for them that would want that to draw them to come. That's going to take reaching out to other areas and see what we have. So those are two of the things that really looking at the RVs regulations, and also how we can balance that three-legged stool. It's going to start, I believe, with housing first. I think the jobs can come in part and filling in the jobs. But we are in a unique neighborhood. We are a seasonal place, and that makes it very hard for businesses to come in and succeed.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
That are not already changed operations.
Okay, Linda, answer your question.
That's on you, not us.
Of course it is. Re-advertising for the candidates, so.
Okay, are your battery work?
Okay,
we're good.
on that, our tourism program, getting the word out about what we have to offer, not only in Quartzsite, but in La Paz County. That makes a big difference if we can draw the people into Quartzsite and keep them here by promoting, getting information to these people about what else is available, what else is going on in La Paz County. I like the idea of town hall meetings. We've talked about it. A number of us have mentioned that before, and don't be surprised if you don't see something like that happen.
Okay, thank you. So who's going to ask the next question?
I'll ask. So my question is that I hear a lot of, I volunteer for this, I volunteer for that. If you're not elected, do you continue to volunteer for the town?
Okay, go ahead.
I surely am. Like I said, my husband and I spend a lot of time at the dog park, picking up trash, filling up holes, taking care of whatever we got to take care of. We pick up trash on the streets, and I'm sure I'm going to continue to help my community where I live. I don't want to live in a filthy, unfixed environment. I want it to be nice and safety and clean.
None of the groups that I mentioned that I'm affiliated with have anything to do with town council. This is my community, this is my home. The women's club, the kids in our community, the tourism, those programs will be important to me whether I sit on a town council or not. They were important to me in my previous home. They're important to me here. This is where I'm going to retire. The only committee I won't be on is the one I serve on with League of Cities and Towns, and that is neighborhoods, sustainability, and quality of life.
Okay, Gary, you're next.
Gary went first. Oh, sorry.
No, he's got to answer your question.
Are you there, Gary?
Yep, I'm here.
All right.
You're asking for my answer now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we need to understand is with that question is the fact that if you're not elected, that means the people have spoken, and all of us have to deal with that. This is all about the people making their choice for who they want to be on their town council, and those are the ones that they choose. If you're not elected and that you're not willing to do anything for the town, you probably should never have been running or been on the council in the first place. There's a lot of things that I'm involved with that I didn't mention, like Isaiah 58 that we work with, and I'm the director of the board of trustees for that. All these activities I am willing to continue on because they aid in helping the community, as does being on the council.
Okay, now you can answer your own question.
I most certainly will. I'm currently on the Chamber of Commerce board, and I enjoy that very much. I really would continue to do that, potentially even if I am on council. And I'm serving on the Parks and Beautification Board. I believe that would automatically not make me eligible to be on that board. Because you can't advise yourself, and it's an advisory board. And I would certainly continue to do all the other volunteer work that I've done. I have always, my whole entire career, had 1 day a week volunteer, essentially community-style acupuncture, where anybody can come feel better. And that was available here in Quartzsite for a very long time until the fees for the community center became more than I actually ever brought in. So I had to move that to Bouse. So I would continue to do that for Bouse because they really were a welcoming community.
Okay. So you get the last question.
I get the last question?
Well, not the last question tonight, but the last question from you all. I went to college in South Carolina, so I picked up a few words from out there.
The last question, am I supposed to answer that to myself? Let me see. If I were to get elected, I would do everything. I think that we need no disrespect. We need to respect each other and it be.
What is your question?
My question is.
To the other
is the way
candidates.
that we treat each other, it should be a little bit more respectful. That is my question. And I think that if we treat each other with respect, then we'll get respect back.
Okay.
We need new blood on the board.
Okay, go ahead and answer that, Linda.
So I have said all along I will not. And the reason I normally don't do these types of events is it's not tonight by any means, previously it has been an attack on candidates. And that's not what I'm about. I respect these folks that are running. I hope they respect me. Just because we're running against each other does not mean that we should not show respect.
Absolutely.
Okay, Gary?
Yeah, respect is very, very important. It's the same way as being on council. There's been times when an issue has come up, and I have been the one who voted no while everyone voted yes. That doesn't mean at that point that I can just say, well, they just didn't listen to me, how dare them. It's at that point that whatever's passed, the responsibility of a good council member is to go ahead and see what they can do to make that thing work as best as possible. And respect is simply saying that your opinion counts. Oftentimes when we make those decisions on the council, we have a hard time making some of those decisions based on the fact that we don't have all the information necessarily we need, and we need to put those things off. But we do not have the option of going and holding a big meeting among the council before we have a council meeting to do these. We cannot by state law. But respect is critical. There is no one that is running. There is no one in the town that I have animosity with at all. And I am interested in hearing everyone's viewpoint. And again, my email address is out there. Feel free to contact me. And understand that you're not going to hear from me words like that was a stupid question, or how could you ever think that, or that's not what this town is about. But we need to work together. That's what mutual respect is all about.
Okay, thank you.
I completely agree really with everything that everyone said. I think that everyone should be respectful of one another, and we certainly would respect each other as candidates, as people in this community. I will offer a little rebuttal. The ones in the past were never an attack on anyone. We just wanted to hear what people had to say. And I think respect and being respectful, I think we've lost that as a country maybe a long time ago. You know, just like Linda said earlier, we don't talk about politics and we don't talk about religion. Why? Because we don't respect other people's opinions. And if you can't respect somebody else's opinion and have an actual conversation about that opinion, where are we? You know, no, you have to agree with me. No, you don't have to agree with me, but I have my opinion. And I'm going to state my opinion and hopefully not get attacked and hopefully not get code enforcement sent on me because I have a different opinion. And I completely, wholeheartedly agree. We have to be respectful.
Okay. So now we're going to open it up to the audience. And again, I'd like somebody to ask a question, hasn't had a chance to ask one. You got a question? Again, this is good practice for those late night council meetings.
I don't live in the town. I live out in the Paz Valley. And for some reason, every winter, we cannot make a cell phone call. Okay? So I have to drive all the way into the city limits to get 5G network to make a phone call. Now that's all winter long. I mean, we don't get 5G. Even now, with nobody here, I still don't get 5G by me. I can't get Wi-Fi through the phone companies because I don't get 5G network. But if I drive up to the sign for Quartzsite city limits, I can make all the calls I want. I get on the internet. And I don't know how, who controls that, but it's just not right. I have to get Starlink in order to get Wi-Fi. And I'm just maybe 7 miles from city limit. And with 4G, majority of the people that come here in the wintertime have 4G. And the lines are all tied up. You can't make a call, calls are dropped, and that's every year since I've been out here. And I thought everybody was supposed to have 5G. Just because I'm out of city limits, I'm still in La Paz County, well, why don't we get 5G?
Have you talked to your neighbors? Yeah, the neighbors out there, because I know that there are a number of folks that live out there that do get cell service, and I mean, the town doesn't have anything to do with that out there, but
you guys have the towers.
but they're not our towers.
Well, who controls it? Who do I need to see?
The difference, for instance, Verizon or AT&T, they lease space on those towers. They don't belong to the town. But if you give me your information, I'll see if I can get information on who the servers are that other folks that I know that live out there that have service.
Well, nobody out there by me. Nobody out there that lives by me has 5G. The trailer parks, nothing.
Okay, well, like I say, if you leave some information, I'll try to get the name of some servers.
Okay, we got a question way over there. Okay, hang on. See how many chairs I can pull over. There we go.
Philip, Gary has some insight for the previous question that he'd like to add. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I worked in the cell phone industry for about 12 years. Part of my job was helping set up the cell sites. The cell sites are set up by population base, and that is all at the works of the cell companies. No municipality can tell a cell service company that you need to give us better cell service or make sure that we have this. They're looking for their market. The cost of those towers and the equipment is astronomical, and they do not share towers. Each piece of equipment's a separate frequency, so it's intense. The best bet to do is one of two things: is talk to your provider and see if there's any boosters that you can get. The other thing you can do is check with people in your area and say, what do you use? One of the most common questions asked me when I was in the industry was, which cell service should I use? And I always told them, use the one that works the best where you're at the most. So you may look at doing a different cell service. They may have better service than the one you're currently at.
Dana, go ahead.
Thanks, Gary.
Hi, Phil. Dana Tagg, Quartzsite resident. So this is going to be kind of unfair. So, Linda, I have a question basically for you, and it was this is a question, and the other two can kind of tag along on it also. But I was at the last council meeting, where we found out that Mr. Ferguson, and correct me if I'm wrong, has now, we finally got a housing authority here in Quartzsite. And that's big news. That's really big news because we need housing. As it was said earlier, we're on a three-legged stool and housing is one of those legs. However, the part that got me was that the council members were appointed. And my question, Linda, is why, if we want to see more transparency, I think strongly that there should have been three citizens. I mean, I would certainly volunteer to be on that. But what happened, the impression that I got was we got control, we're keeping control, we're not going to release control. And that might be a perception that is wrong, but that's a real perception. Because, and there was several questions that were asked, and again, the answer was, we're just in the beginning, we're just in the beginning, we're just in the beginning. But I think that as a council member, would you at this point, when you go back to having meetings, would you possibly talk with our town manager, Mr. Ferguson, to see if there could be people, because we have intelligent people in this town. We got some extremely smart people that I believe needs to be on that board, because we do need housing. We don't need to be, well, we're going to have housing and then it just gets pushed under the covers or under the rug and we don't hear any more about it for 6 to 8 months. I think we need to have real people. So can you address that, please?
I absolutely can address that. The Housing Authority is in its infancy. We finally got all the legal papers all back. And yes, we appointed the town council as the board. That is not the plan. The plan is that there will be citizens, community members, that will be on that board. There will be some council members, but the plan has always been that there would be community involvement. But right now, there isn't anything going on. We just got it put together. We now have this opportunity zone where we are going to, and we firmly believe that we will be getting developers coming into the community wanting to do housing, that have capital gain, that are looking for tax credits. The other thing, we already know that there is a commitment already for the beginning of something, of a project, but it's not going to happen until after the first of the year. But yes. And so you're going to be on the school board, so does that mean that you don't want to be on housing? And I will ask the town manager to clarify that at the next council meeting, absolutely.
Okay. Any other candidates have any input they want to put on that issue?
I do agree with exactly what he said. As far as we keep talking about transparency, I think it's the perception that's being given that it's not transparent. And maybe it is just a perception, and maybe there isn't anything nefarious going on, but if it was just to be more transparent and just more like community involvement, because we all love this community. Obviously, it's 9:30 almost, and we're all still here. So we all love this community, and we want to know what's going on, and that transparency is essential.
And every one of our boards, there is community involvement. There is not one board other than the town council. And the town council meets in public. Anybody that wants to know what's going on can show up at a council meeting or listen to it and hear it. The only thing that you don't get to hear is when we go into executive session.
Okay, one Last question of the evening. Who gets it? All right. Your hand was up first. You already asked questions.
I hear a lot of stuff about the code board that they go around and attacking people, and I want to know why all the excessive fines, and why can't people just get a warning? And that makes the people that get the fines, they really get mad at the town. So
Before you answer, go ahead and ask your question too. We'll do a 2-question here.
My question is about what is your guys' plan to improve jobs coming in and people? You want to build houses, that's great. Who's going to live in them? Where are they going to work? That's what I want to know. That's the whole reason I came here was, what do you want to do to bring more jobs and bring more people to town so it's thriving?
Okay, thank you. Who wants to go first?
Well, I will. They also said that we were going to do some workforce, correct? Like from the solar people that are coming in. And I mean, they're already living here now, but I think that housing would be a great help as far as starting new jobs. I'm not talking about big, huge housing projects. I'm talking about small housing projects. That would help, and it would help bring families here and work. But that's what I think.
It really kind of goes back to the three-legged stool. We don't have the housing. When you have the housing, then you can have jobs. Well, if you have people and housing, then those businesses are going, oh yeah, I can get employees. You look at a three-legged stool, that I got to go back to that. But there are our economic development projects. There are people that are interested, and like I say, I talked about the opportunity zone. I was shocked when our Arizona Department of Commerce, our Board of Supervisors, the Department of Commerce from the federal government, all were committed in making a choice of Quartzsite for the Opportunity Zone in La Paz County, because they see the future, they see growth, they see shovel ready, we're ready. Now we just got to get them in here.
Anybody else have comments on that?
I hope that opportunity zone doesn't bring workers for an oil company coming out here to pollute our Quartzsite.
Gary, do you have anything on that?
Yes. I just wanted to say that jobs are a tough thing, because as a council, we cannot tell a company, you need to come in here and put in jobs. Our enticement is limited because we get no revenue from property tax, so we couldn't give them a property tax break. The only financial break that we could give them would be for the sales tax, and that would be defeating the purpose of what it's going to take to do the operation. That being said, we're working at reaching out to different companies and seeing what kind of businesses we could make happen here. A couple that I would like to see is a side-by-side repair training facility where those who come in the wintertime could also bring in for a small fee and learn how to repair their RVs, or not RVs, but their side-by-sides, and also be able to get certified in those areas. Another one would be if we could find a truck driver who wanted to come in and teach RV driving school. There's been many that have been successful in Nevada, up in Washington State, in which what they do is they come in and you pay a fee and you take a class. So half the day you spend in the class, the second half of the day you're out there with your own rig and your own RV, and they're having you do everything from parallel parking to backing to learning all the safety features on your own. That's just a couple businesses that we could try to reach out to. We do need a print shop in town. If we could convince somebody that that we as a town would support them in that. In other words, the businesses here would be willing to use the print shop, even though it might be a little bit more expensive, supporting them to come in. That's some of the things that we can do. There's no simple answer on jobs, and there's no way we can force any jobs in here. And we are limited because of not having natural gas here. Is one of the big holdups in having like warehousing here, for example. Also, we don't have train tracks coming through here, which makes shipping more expensive. So we're looking at all these things, and that's some of the things I'm looking at, and finding ways that we can try to draw more businesses in here. It'll be on a slow, small level, but I think eventually we can get there.
Okay.
So I'll
Go
address kind of both questions at the same time. I think if it was easier to do business here, I think more businesses would come here. If we could stop with the codes and, you know, give them some warnings instead of a big hefty fine, instead of saying, oh no, you're not zoned for that, you can't sell cars here, you can only sell storage units. You know, if there were more, if it was just easier to do business here in a more friendly environment, I think we could do that. And updating our codes, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have code enforcement. Obviously the fires in 88 Shades were due to people that weren't compliant to codes. And I think that rather than code enforcement going out to each individual RV in every RV park, they just need to have a conversation with the landlord, right? So whoever you are, these are the codes. This is what is necessary to keep people safe. And if you're not doing it, you're gonna get a big hefty fine, and you're gonna get replaced by some other company that's gonna come in and buy your RV park for a really low cost because you just lost your cookies.
Okay, we're going to stop right there.